Today is the first birthday banquet for my twin brother and me, and it's also the day our family holds the traditional, grasping ceremony for us in the banquet hall of a 7-star hotel. Guests fill the seats. In a little while, my aunt, Su Li Jun, will use the excuse that the children are hungry to feed my brother and me formula laced with drugs. In my previous life, she succeeded within days. My brother suffered total organ failure and was pronounced critically ill in the ICU. As for me, since I ingested less of the drug, it only attacked my brain, leaving me intellectually disabled. When I grew older, some thugs took me into a KTV private room, and I never walked back out again. But this time, things were different. I kowtowed to the Buddha 999 times, pouring out the injustices my brother and I had suffered, and finally earned the two of us a rebirth. Seeing the affection in my parents' eyes, I tugged my brother's little hand. This time, I will definitely protect my brother, and myself. Because we were fraternal twins, all our relatives and friends were envious. Quite a few people came to our first birthday banquet, especially those without children. They all wanted to soak up some of my parents' good fortune. My father was naturally hospitable, and as soon as he heard their intention, he immediately slammed the table and booked an even larger hall, even inviting journalists. The whole world should join in the celebration, but they never expected that right after my brother and I had our respective object selection ceremonies, my aunt, who had been quiet all day, would so kindly take my brother from my mother, then pinch his thigh hard, make an excuse that the child was hungry, and feed him poison formula, then do the same to me. In just a short while, one of us would die young, and the other would become mentally disabled. My mother couldn't bear it at the time. She developed severe depression at a young age, and her health deteriorated early as a result. My father, not even 40, had a full head of gray hair. He stayed by my side, guarding me who had become like an idiot, afraid to leave. Our once happy little family was utterly destroyed by my aunt. But now, I have been reborn. Even though I've just learned to walk and still fall down often, that's okay. Parents and children are born with a perception unlike anyone else's, coupled with the fact that I'm living my life over again. I will surely make them vigilant. In the hotel lobby, my mother holds my brother's hand with one of hers and mine with the other. I cling to her leg, looking up at her with eyes full of dependence. My dad is a doting father, and he spoils me endlessly. Seeing what I was doing, he also crouched down on the ground and opened his arms toward me. Sweetheart, come into daddy's arms. Looking at my dad's smiling face, I suddenly snapped back to reality and clung even tighter to my mom's leg. In my previous life, dad never let his guard down around Su Li Jun simply because she was his elder brother's wife and thus family, so even when toxins were eventually found in my brother's autopsy, he never suspected Su Li Jun. Recalling how careless he could be, I directly took small steps and darted behind my mom. Why won't our little girl let daddy hold her? Didn't you say you liked daddy yesterday? Dad gave me a hurt look, but instead of feeling bad for him, I hid even more. Mom looked at me, somewhat amused. Come on, it must be the cigarette smell you picked up from someone else. That's why she doesn't want you. Seeing the lonely look in Dad's eyes, my older brother stepped forward. If our little girl won't hold Daddy, then Daddy will hold you. Dad's eyes widened instantly. Meanwhile, Mom was laughing so hard she could barely stand straight. Hey, that's the wrong generation, you little punk. You're taking advantage of me. I reached out my little hand and grabbed my brother's hair. No, Daddy can't hold me. Mom stopped Dad and sat my brother and me on her lap, one on each side. Look at you, neither of your kids wants you. The uncle standing nearby watched the scene, his eyes full of envy. He took out 2 lollipops and handed them over. Sweetie, would you like some candy from your uncle? Before she could even touch me, I turned my face into my mother's arms and clutched tightly at the corner of her shirt. Even though my uncle doted on me, in the previous life after my brother and I were poisoned, he never suspected his own wife. Instead, he repeatedly asked Su Li Jun to help look after me and comfort my mother. Thinking of this, I kicked my brother directly. Don't eat it. My uncle instantly looked a bit embarrassed. Seeing the awkward atmosphere, my mother quickly tried to smooth things over. The little girl just doesn't like this kind of situation. Don't overthink it, big brother. Dad quickly put his arm around Uncle's shoulder and pulled him along to go exchange pleasantries with the guests. Just like in the previous life, my brother and I went through the grasping ceremony surrounded by onlookers. My brother grabbed the bun and refused to let go, making everyone burst into laughter. Just then, Su Li Jun, who had been standing by for a while, quietly walked over to Mom. Sister-in-law, it's too hard for you to look after 2 kids all by yourself. let me help you. Mom gave her a grateful smile. Just as Su Li Jun's hand was about to reach my brother, I toddled forward on my little legs and kicked him with all my might, too. My brother was knocked to the ground by my kick and lay there stunned for a long while, then burst into loud sobs. Mom, hold me. Mom hurried over and held my brother with concern, then scolded me. Sweetie, why did you kick your brother? I pointed at Su Li Jun unapologetically. Don't, let her hold him. Su Li Jun was instantly embarrassed. My brother's loud, calf-like cries echoed through the entire banquet hall, and Uncle and Dad rushed over. What's wrong with Nan Nan? They all noticed something was off with me, but couldn't quite put their finger on it. My mom awkwardly spoke to Su Li Jun. I'm really sorry, sister-in-law. Nan Nan might just be uncomfortable with this kind of occasion. Today, she won't let anyone touch her, nor let anyone touch her brother. My uncle quickly nodded to back up my mom. That's right. Nan Nan is very shy around strangers today. A hint of gloom flashed across Su Li Jun's face. But then she was all smiles again, making it hard to notice the change. Is that so? I was thinking that my sister-in-law has been working hard, and I wanted to help her. Suddenly struck by a thought, she asked with concern, is the child hungry? Otherwise, should I go prepare some formula milk? Father's expression relaxed. That was indeed a possibility. He hesitated, about to consult mother, but then I took small steps toward him and hugged his leg. Dad, he gave a soft reply. Then I walked over to my uncle and gave his leg another hug. Uncle, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, expecting me to move on to Su Li Jun in order. But instead, I stepped directly toward Mom and pointed at Su Li Jun. Don't, let her hold me. Just one look at Su Li Jun's composed face brought back the memory of the poison churning in my stomach in my past life. I recalled the sinister glint in her eyes when she fed me milk, and the unbearable torment when those thugs tricked and dragged me into that private room. I wonder what kind of expression my parents had when they finally found me, disheveled and abandoned on the table in that room. I really don't want to think about it anymore. Seeing that Dad was about to say something else, I burst into tears right in front of Su Li Jun. Bad. Only then did my dad realize something was wrong. Sister-in-law, did you do something to Nan Nan? 3. Su Li Jun was startled by my dad's sudden question. Her calm and composed expression finally began to crack a little. Are you kidding me? Nan Nan is so young. What could I possibly do to her? I just saw that you, sister-in-law, were having a hard time managing on your own with the child, so I wanted to lend a hand. My dad quickly waved his hands and explained, Sister-in-law, don't overthink it. Nan Nan seems a bit reluctant around you. I thought you might have done something to upset her. My dad had only made an offhand remark, yet it made Su Li Jun's expression grow even stiffer. My uncle quickly tried to smooth things over and pulled her away. My brother and I, one on each side, were led by our parents, forming a small circle. Then we heard Dad say to Mom, what's up with sister-in-law today? Normally, she never comes by to help when you're watching the kids, but today she's being unusually attentive. My mother followed his gaze toward the direction where sister-in-law had disappeared. Maybe it's because the scene stirred up old memories. After all, her own son's first birthday draw was just this lively. Su Li Jun's situation is indeed somewhat unique. She once had a child of her own, a little boy whom the whole family adored, but shortly after his first birthday party, he was abducted, and his whereabouts remain unknown to this day. Because of this, my uncle has used considerable connections and resources to search for the child, but all efforts have been in vain. Su Li Jun has grown increasingly silent since losing her son, and only breaks down emotionally when arguing with my uncle about the child. My uncle tried to persuade Su Li Jun to move on by suggesting they have another child, but the two of them simply couldn't conceive. Meanwhile, my mother gave birth to fraternal twins in one go. Jealousy is truly a terrible thing. I still remember how, in her previous life, she whispered as she shoved the pacifier into my mouth, don't blame me, blame your mother. Why should my child be lost while your mother gets to have two in one birth, a boy and a girl? She made me do it. As I recalled this, relatives and friends gradually gathered around, playing with my brother and me. I obediently grinned at everyone, then babbled on in words they couldn't understand. This drew another round of laughter from the crowd, and everyone praised me for being adorable. Dad happily gave me a hug, looking deeply moved. My little sweetheart is the best. Then he gently whispered in Mom's ear, how about we have another daughter sometime? Mom playfully pushed him away, a shy blush on her face. Go on, don't talk nonsense. The kids are right here. Just as I was acting coy with Mom, I caught a glimpse of Su Li Jun standing in The crowd, although she was talking to someone else, her gaze kept drifting this way, deep and unreadable. A chill ran down my spine, for everything went smoothly after that. When the host announced the start of the feast, everyone took their seats, ready to eat. Even Su Lijun sat at another table and didn't come over again. Just when I thought she had given up, a warm, loving elderly couple in their 60s walked over. They were my father's uncle and aunt, my great-uncle and great-aunt, my grandparents. Passed away early, my father only had them as elders on his side. As it happened, the two elderly people's son was abroad, so usually it was my father and my uncle who took care of them. As for Su Lijun, because her mother's family had ties with them, they had quite frequent private interactions. Xiao Xiao, you must be tired from taking care of the two children. Let your uncle and me give you a hand. Go and have a meal first. You're our family's greatest hero. We mustn't let you go hungry. As second grandma spoke, she reached out toward my brother, but a flicker of calculation flashed quickly through her eyes. She had just seen how resistant I was towards Su Lijun and thought I was too shrewd, so she went after my brother first, and it happened to be just in time for the meal. The adults needed to eat, and so did the children. You can rest assured leaving the kids with us. Your uncle and I have experience, and we won't let them go hungry, second grandmother said cheerfully. Mom hesitated. For a moment, she was indeed hungry. If she didn't eat now, she probably wouldn't have time later while seeing the guests off. Besides, both elders had experience, so she felt at ease. Mom was just about to hand my brother over to second grandmother when I suddenly tugged hard at the hem of her pants. My little face flushed red. I glared at second grandma with teary eyes and fierce resentment. Don't hold me. Seeing my reaction, my mother pulled her outstretched hand back. I'm so sorry, second aunt. The girl is just shy today. She doesn't want to, and she won't let her brother agree either. So bossy, she thought this would put an end to their intentions. But then second grandpa spoke up calmly. Granddaughter-in-law, I hate to say this, but how can you spoil a child like that? If she doesn't want to, you just give in. That's indulgence. What will she do when she grows up? My mother's face turned red at his words. She had never thought about this question, because I had never been this disobedient before. She thought that the two elderly people across from her meant well and were also family. It would only take the time to eat a meal, so maybe she could let them watch the children for a while. I looked up at Mom's conflicted expression. I reached out and, where she couldn't see, pinched my brother's butt hard. Wah! My brother's loud voice once again echoed through the hall, and not wanting to be outdone, I wailed right along with him. Mommy, hold me, our alternating cries quickly brought Dad over. A look of distress crossed his face. Second uncle, second aunt, go back and eat. I'll watch the kids. Today's a bit unusual, but there will be plenty of other opportunities. My dad turned them down. Second grandma looked displeased and wanted to say more, but Dad had already skillfully taken me into his arms and was gently patting my back. Seeing this, second grandpa's face darkened instantly, and he flicked his sleeve before storming off. Humph, so ungrateful. Even my mom, slow as she usually was, could tell something was wrong at this point. Isn't it just not letting her hold the baby? Why such an overreaction? She and Dad quickly exchanged a glance, both sensing something unusual in each other's eyes. Shoo! My dad made a gesture to her, and Mom fell silent. They had been together since high school. After all these years, how could they not read what was in each other's eyes? It just feels like a first birthday party has somehow turned into a feast with ulterior motives. There have been people with ill intentions all along. While Dad helped watch the child, Mom seized the chance to grab a quick meal. Seeing how well the couple took care of the child, no one disturbed them for a while. After Mom finished eating, she swapped places with Dad. Seeing how vigilant the two of them were, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Surely nothing would go wrong now, right? 5. The older brother sat on his father's lap, his eyes fixed unblinkingly on his mouth. Young children get hungry easily. Just after eating at 10, they need to eat again at 12. When hungry, they get fussy. The older brother stared at his father, mouth wide open, drool dripping down. I knew you were a little glutton. Look at your sister. She's not drooling. With that, he called over the waiter. We brought formula. Could you please prepare it for us? I immediately jolted awake. Why didn't I think of that? I was on guard against Su Lijun, against Grandpa and Grandma, but never thought to guard against the waiter. My eyes darted towards Su Lijun, and I saw a smug look on her face. She was so close to succeeding. Desperate, I shouted at him, and no, but the more panicked I became, the less I could speak clearly. Dad looked at me. Good baby, it's fine if you're not hungry and don't want to eat, but your brother is hungry. Brother is a boy, so he gets hungry faster. I quickly waved my hand at him, but saw him take the bottle handed over by the waiter, snuggling in Mom's arms. I started kicking and flailing my limbs, trying to get their attention this way. Mom gave my little bottom a gentle pat. Stop fussing, baby, you'll get your bottle in a moment. I don't want it, I started wailing, each cry louder than the last. I grew louder and louder. Mom and Dad had no choice but to take my brother and me to the next private room. I watched as Dad was about to shove the bottle into my brother's mouth. Mom suddenly stopped him. Wait a second. I paused, thinking she had noticed something. Did you test the milk temperature? Dad paused in surprise, then quickly checked the temperature with his own wrist. Then he breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness you reminded me. I almost forgot all about that. Mom held me and smiled. That waiter looks very young, probably hasn't had kids, so just used hot water. Dad picked up the bottle again and tried to put it into my brother's mouth. Suddenly, his phone rang. Hello, the car got scratched. How did it get scratched just sitting in the parking lot? Okay, I'll be right there. He handed the bottle to his mother apologetically and hurried away. My mother took the bottle and was just about to feed my brother. Suddenly, the server who had prepared the bottle rushed in. Ma'am, I'm afraid something's wrong. Your car might have hit someone. My mother quickly stood up, glanced at the two of us with a troubled look, and finally spoke to the server. I'm sorry. Could you please watch the children for me? I'll be right back. Don't feed them yet since the formula is a bit cold. As the door closed, the three of us were left alone in the room. The older brother stared longingly at the milk, watching the large hand take the bottle away. Baby, don't blame me. I had no choice either. The waiter's voice was low as he stepped closer to the older brother. I rushed up and grabbed her pants, but she kicked me away. At that critical moment, my father's voice suddenly rang out. Stop, I've called the police. 6, stop. My father stepped forward and snatched the bottle away. What are you doing? Startled, I only bit down on the bottle and hadn't sucked anything out yet. I thought she was hungry. You're lying. My mother immediately scolded. I told you before I left not to feed her, and it's not the baby who's hungry. My father dragged her directly into the hall, and my uncle immediately rushed over upon seeing this. What's going on? I suspect there's something wrong with this milk. Realizing the seriousness of the matter, my uncle called the manager and the owner over. As more and more people gathered around, the waiter's face was drenched in sweat from fear. He pointed in a certain direction. It's her. She told me to do it. I don't know anything. Time seemed to freeze at that moment. Everyone looked at the person she was pointing at. The person being pointed at was also extremely flustered, their face pale under the light. Sister-in-law, Dad exclaimed in shock. Uncle was also in disbelief, staring wide-eyed at Su Lijun. Lijun, what did you have the waiter do to the formula? Back to before the meal. Mom looked at her older brother, who was drooling with desire, her face full of sympathy. I'll go prepare some formula for the child. But my father shook his head and said, don't let the child eat here for now. I have an uneasy feeling. Have you forgotten what the most direct way to harm someone is on TV? Startled by his words, my mother was too shocked to speak. Children are often very perceptive. Nanan's behavior today is off. After dinner, take the child and go home. Immediately, my father sighed, but his gaze remained firm. Better safe than sorry. My father leaned close to my mother's ear and told her a plan that only the two of them knew. If someone intended to harm the child, the most likely way would be through the food they ate. Young children need to eat frequently, but they can't clearly say whether the food tastes good or not, so he pretended to call for someone to prepare the formula, thinking that if anyone wanted to tamper with it, that would be the moment. But neither of them noticed anyone leaving their seat while the server was preparing the formula. Everything was calm. It wasn't until the father received the bottle from the server that he suddenly sensed something. The temperature of the bottle was wrong. The temperature is perfectly normal, as if it had been brewed many times over. This isn't something a young person in their early 20s could brew, so the two seized the opportunity, using various excuses to keep the two children in the private room. It was risky, but it was the best way to catch a ghost. Sure enough, after the father was sent away by a phone call, a waiter came in and called the mother. Her excuse was full of holes. How could a parked car hit someone? But the mother still didn't call her out, and they hadn't actually left. After placing a mini camera, they stayed hidden where the waitstaff couldn't see them. 7. It's you. When my mother saw Su Lijun, she completely broke down. She stood in front of my brother and me like a mother hen. What did you put in the formula? Su Lijun flinched back in fear. Her usual composure gone, she waved her hands in a panic. It wasn't me. Perhaps due to the sudden movement, a small packet of white powder fell to the ground. My father rushed forward and quickly picked up the powder. What is this? He stared intently at Su Lijun, his face no longer showing the respect he usually had for his elder brother's wife. What the hell is this thing? What are you trying to do to the two children? My uncle looked at the powder in my father's hand and knew it couldn't be anything good. He felt the world spinning, blackness flickering before his eyes. My uncle gritted his teeth, pointed at Su Lijun, and said, "The twins are only 1 year old. What have you been feeding them?" Looking at the powder before her, Su Lijun turned pale, but she quickly came to her senses and reached out to snatch it away. There was no way my father would let her succeed. He dodged with a swift move. Su Lijun, unsteady in her high heels, fell straight to the ground. All the relatives and friends present watched her, yet no one offered a hand. Su Lijun looked flustered. You've got it wrong. I never meant to harm the two children. I heard it from others that this can make children smarter. I begged for it especially for them." She looked at the uncle with a face full of grievance, tears soon falling from her eyes. "You know, we still haven't found our own child. I'm desperate to do good deeds to pray for him, so why would I willingly harm someone else's child?" The uncle was somewhat moved by her words, thinking of his own lost child. He let out a sigh. "Xiao Jun, what do you think? Maybe this really is a misunderstanding. What if Li Jun really meant well for the child, but in a moment of desperation used the wrong method and was deceived?" "Deceived?" My father spoke coldly, as if he had just heard the funniest joke in his life. "Do you take me for a fool? From the time the two children were born until now, your wife has visited so few times that you can count her visits on one hand, and now you suddenly tell me that she went out of her way to find medicine for the children. Do you expect me to believe that?" The uncle fell silent, knowing full well how flimsy that excuse sounded. "How about this?" My father turned to look at Su Lijun, his gaze as cold as ice. He pulled out the small bag of white powder. "If you take this medicine right here, in front of everyone, then I'll believe you." Su Lijun sat on the ground, her eyes wide with disbelief. No one knew better than she did what this medicine was and what it could do." Seeing that she didn't respond, my father held the medicine out a little further. "Take it." Trembling, Su Lijun reached out her hand and slowly moved it forward, her eyes filled with fear. "I won't take it." With a slap, she knocked the medicine out of his hand, then collapsed to the ground, breaking down in tears. 8. The father picked up the medicine and looked at his own sister-in-law with utter disappointment. He had always felt that his sister-in-law, coming from a scholarly family, had married into their business-oriented household and was thus being shortchanged. On top of that, with their mother passing away early, the eldest sister-in-law was like a mother. She had even helped manage the wedding when he got married. As Su Lijun had also lent a hand, he admired intellectuals and had therefore always held her in high regard. After she and his eldest brother lost their child unexpectedly, he had also tried his best to search for the child many times and repeatedly asked others to keep an eye out. Even though his eldest brother and his wife never had children, he never once suggested that his brother divorce her and find someone else. He even thought about teaching his own children to respect and care for his eldest brother and sister-in-law. But who would have thought that the person he respected the most would try to take the lives of his own son and daughter? Dad took a deep breath and pulled out his phone. "Manager Su, please have someone keep the baby formula and bottle from just now. They are evidence." He was about to call the police when his eldest uncle stopped him. With a pleading look on his face, he said, Xiao Jun, I know I have no right to say anything to you now, but, bro, I'm begging you, don't call the police. If you call the police, your sister-in-law is done for. Her family cares so much about Face. If they find out what she did, how will she live out the rest of her life?" My uncle, a grown man, wept bitterly, moving many of those present to tears, but my father remained unmoved. He gently pried open my uncle's hand. "Bro, this might be the last time I call you bro. I never thought you'd be the one trying to persuade me to cover for a murderer. You expect me to go easy on a woman who almost killed her own child. I'm really disappointed in you." Hearing his brother's words, the uncle's heart turned completely cold. At this banquet, he had not only lost his wife but also his only brother. He turned and knelt before his sister-in-law, knocking his head on the ground 3 times. "Sister-in-law, your elder sister-in-law was in the wrong here. As the elder brother, I failed to keep your sister-in-law in check, and she nearly harmed our nephew and niece. On her behalf, I kowtow to you and beg for forgiveness." Su Lijun's dazed expression was jolted awake by the thudding sound of her brother-in-law's kowtows. She rushed up and threw herself at him. "Why are you kneeling to her?" "I did it, and I'll take full responsibility. I don't need you to apologize for me. Call the police if you want. Whatever your issue is, take it up with me." Alas, hearing her resolute words, I sighed inwardly. After all, she was also to be pitied. Her child was lost, and she could no longer have another. The weight of the vast family estate and the pressure from her family all bore down on her, but none of this justifies her drugging us. We are not the ones who caused her misery. The searing pain from the poison in my past life still echoes in my brain. My brother, who couldn't be saved in the ICU, and those days of being mocked as a fool, and then the scene where I was taken to a KTV private room and humiliated one after another by a group of people. Every miserable person has something hateful about them, so I cannot forgive her. 9. Thinking about all the grievances I had suffered over the years, I burst into loud sobs. My mother was also affected by my crying, and her eyes instantly turned red. She angrily shouted at the two people kneeling on the ground, "Don't dress up the word murder with such righteous and moral terms. The only reason the two children are unharmed is because we discovered it in time. If it had been even 1 second later, I would never forgive you." Su Lijun seemed to have only just realized at that moment that she was going to prison. She began to panic, crawling to her father's feet and tugging at his pants. Xiao Jun, I beg you, please let me go. I know I was wrong. Please give me another chance. Your eldest brother is not well and needs someone to take care of him. I can't go to prison, just for the sake of the child I lost. Please spare me this once. I won't dare do it again." Father opened his mouth as if to speak, then looked down at her, his thoughts unreadable. On one side was his own flesh and blood. On the other, his elder brother, who had been his only family through thick and thin. His body swayed, and he had to steady himself against the wall. Just then, an abrupt ringtone broke the silence. It came from Su Lijun's pocket. Dad seemed to suddenly think of something, raised his chin toward her, and signaled for her to answer the phone. Su Lijun had just tremblingly taken out her phone before she could even see who it was. My dad saw the caller ID first and snatched it from her. "Lijun, have they had the formula? How is everything going now?" "Their car got scratched in the parking lot. They're probably looking for someone to sort it out right now." Second Grandma's clear voice came through the phone. They had left before finishing their meal. It was Second Grandpa who had called my dad. When Su Lijun heard this, all the color drained from her face, and she was unable to utter a single word. The person on the other side was probably still excited, completely unaware of the situation here, and kept rambling on. That old fraud said, with just a tiny dose, a child could be turned into an idiot. A little more, and they'd die even faster, colorless and odorless. No one would ever know. Second uncle also chimed in, "Don't be soft-hearted no matter what. Think about all those years you and your eldest brother worked hard to build up the family assets. Do you really want to give it all to your second brother's family? Then you can adopt your nephew under your own name. Let him marry my granddaughter, and everything in the family will be up to you." In an instant, Big Uncle's face turned deathly pale. He had thought Su Lijun was merely being deceived and still clung to a sliver of hope, ready to appeal to my father's sympathy. Who would have thought that from the very beginning, she had conspired with outsiders to seize their family's property, even though she knew that her uncle's family had repeatedly taken advantage of their misfortune after they lost their child. She still chose to cooperate with them, to join forces with them against the younger brother who had always respected her. He was such a fool, Young. Su Lijun wanted to say something more, when suddenly, smack, the eldest uncle's slap was merciless, knocking her straight to the ground. "How could I have come to you, you venomous woman, and I even betrayed my own younger brother for you? I was so blind. You don't deserve to be called a human being." The uncle turned to look at Dad, and as he laughed, tears streamed down his face. "Xiao Jun, I have wronged you. You were right. I don't deserve to be your older brother. Call the police. Turn this murderer in. No mercy." 10. The police acted swiftly. With both witness testimony and physical evidence available, the hotel manager was an acquaintance of the father. Upon hearing the news, he immediately had the formula can and the prepared milk sealed for preservation. Although Su Lijun was the mastermind, the one who actually poisoned the milk was the waiter, and the waiter was also the one who prepared the bottle. Upon hearing that she had nearly caused the death of a child, the waiter was so frightened she almost fainted. She took out her phone and played a recording of her conversation with Su Lijun. "I heard your grandfather needs money urgently for the hospital. Here's 10,000 yuan. Find a way to put this medicine into the formula and mix it into their bottle. After it's done, I'll give you another 20,000. She insisted that she did not know what the Medicine was that she was merely following Su Lijun's instructions, and that she never intended to harm anyone. When the cold handcuffs were placed on her, she collapsed completely to the ground, throwing away her entire life for just a few tens of thousands of yuan. At that moment, two people were still waiting in the underground parking garage. The second grandfather and second grandmother, afraid of drawing attention. They had been hiding there the whole time, even after being taken away by the police. They still had no idea what was happening. Under my father's supervision, the hotel manager personally drew and boiled the water, and then my father prepared the formula himself. Only then did my brother and I get to enjoy a good meal. Inside the interrogation room, Su Lijun had lost all her usual elegance and poise. Her hair hung disheveled, and she looked as though she had aged 10 years overnight. The second grandmother urgently shouted at her. Li Jun, quickly explain to the police comrade that this was your own idea, and has nothing to do with us. You wanted to harm your nephew and niece. On what grounds are you trying to arrest us? Su Lijun smiled, a sneer of contempt and mockery in her expression. She took out her phone and played the recording she had just made. Just a tiny bit of that medicine is enough. Hearing her own voice playing back, the second grandmother froze in place, furious. The second grandfather stepped forward and slapped Su Lijun. You useless piece of trash. You can't even handle such a small thing, and now you've dragged us down with you. Su Lijun laughed louder and louder, eventually reaching a point of madness. You're blaming me. Back then, who was it that had their eye on our family's property, and who said I didn't have a child? But you couldn't just leave well enough alone with my younger brother and his wife, could you? Once they inherited the entire family estate, I would have been in deep trouble. Her eyes were fierce and ruthless. If it weren't for you two rotten meddlers, would never have done something so heinous. After saying all this, she suddenly fell silent, as if returning to her former composure. Even when the police came to ask for details, she still elegantly tucked her hair back, just as she always did. I'm just jealous. We're siblings born of the same mother. So why did I lose my child while my younger brother gets to have both a son and a daughter? My family worried I couldn't handle Aqiang, so they kept urging me to have another child. I took a lot of medicine, but I never got pregnant. Several of Aqiang's business partners introduced him to young, pretty women, but he turned them all down. I know he was afraid of hurting me. As Su Lijun spoke, she gave the police a gentle, warm smile. I did what I did. I didn't expect it would turn out this way, but this really has nothing to do with Aqiang. It was all because I listened to my uncle and aunt's nonsense. I was afraid Aqiang would leave me, and worried that the family fortune he had worked so hard to build would fall into the hands of his younger brother. I was being petty and judging others by my own narrow standards. Her voice became choked with sobs, and tears streamed down her cheeks. I really didn't mean to harm their child on purpose. I once had a child of my own. I know how painfully a parent's heart aches when something happens to their child. Xiao, I am so sorry. In my next life, I will serve you as an ox or a horse to make amends. Su Lijun stood up, bowed deeply to her parents, and was then led away by the police. 11. With conclusive evidence and Su Lijun's full cooperation and voluntary confession of the truth, the verdict came down quickly. In the end, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison for attempted intentional homicide. In accordance with the law, the second grandaunt and second granduncle, as accomplices, were each sentenced to 3 years in prison. As for the waiter, also an accomplice, he received a 5-year sentence due to the particularly egregious nature of his act of drugging. Everything was settled. It was said that on the day of the trial, none of Su Lijun's maternal family members showed up. They directly hired a lawyer to notarize the severance of their relationship with her. But my uncle went. He stood quietly in the audience, watching Su Lijun in the defendant's seat. Only when the verdict was handed down did he finally smile at her with relief. I'll wait for you to come out. Hearing his words, Su Lijun also smiled. She smiled until tears streamed down her face. Why wait for me to come out? By then, I'll be an old woman with gray hair, and still a graceful and dignified one. No matter what you've done, I will always see you as my wife and the mother of my children. The moment Su Lijun was taken away by the female police officer, she could no longer hold back and burst into loud sobs. She hated herself for how a single evil thought had ruined her entire life, and Aqiang's as well. When the uncle came out of the court, he came directly to our home with the lawyer. He handed a share transfer agreement to my father. I am Lijun's husband. She did something wrong, and I share the responsibility. This is a small gesture from me. Consider it an apology to the children. If you accept it, I will feel a little better. My father quietly looked at the uncle's graying hair for a long while before finally picking up the pen. He wrote both my brother's and my names on the equity transfer document. Just as my uncle got up to leave, my father called out to him. From behind, "Brother," my uncle turned his head, smiled at him, and never looked back. Soon, my brother and I reached the age to start kindergarten. Being overly energetic, I often annoyed the teachers and got my parents called in. Mom and Dad had to go to the kindergarten from time to time to get scolded. At first, they were both happy about it, thinking of it as the little troubles that come with having a sweet daughter, and they were willing to take it on, but as it happened more often, the two began to shirk responsibility onto each other. Just as they were about to start arguing, the older brother stepped in and stomped over to the table. He pounded his chest and said to their parents, "You don't need to do it, I'll take care of my little sister from now on." Their parents looked at him, acting like a little adult, exchanged a glance and suddenly burst out laughing. The sunlight bathed us in warmth, making our whole bodies feel cozy. In this life, we will surely grow up happily. Story 2. Chapter 1. Only my sister and I remained of the rabbit clan, and the Beast King allowed us to choose our mother from among his queens and consorts. In our past life, my sister chose the noble white wolf queen, so I was left with the taciturn golden crow consort. The wolf queen came from a powerful lineage, and my sister grew up pampered before marrying the Beast King's most prized disciple, the black serpent. The timid golden crow consort, frightened by my sister's constant bullying, hastily arranged my marriage to a disgraced black eagle from our clan. In the great beast war that followed, the black eagle fought his way through the enemy ranks single-handedly, claiming the throne as the Beast King and earning legendary renown. Meanwhile, the obsidian serpent suffered grievous wounds in battle, falling into a death-like slumber. My younger sister grew envious that I, despite my idleness, possessed such a formidable husband. She lured me into the cursed serpent's lair that she had hexed with a death spell, only to slip and fall in herself. We were both tortured to death. When I opened my eyes again, my sister and I had returned to the moment of choosing a new mother. "Pick whichever of my consorts pleases you to be your mother," the Black Wolf King spoke lazily, his gaze flickering toward us. Before the beast consort could react, my sister lunged at the serene golden crow consort beside her. She raised her tearful eyes, just as she had in our past life. "Your Majesty, Hazel wishes to choose Lady Golden Crow as her mother." With that, she shot me a challenging glance, her face brimming with triumph. "Looks like you've been reborn too, just like me." Without a word, I stepped forward to take the White Wolf Queen's hand, nuzzling her affectionately with my rabbit ears. "Olivia would be honored to care for Her Majesty forever. Little sister, if you insist on suffering with the Golden Crow, I won't stop you." The Black Wolf King nodded and summoned a beast servant with a wave of his hand, ordering the inscription to be carved onto the stone tablet. It recorded the lineage of the Beast King's clan, including all descendants. The higher the ranking, the greater the status and the better chance to seize power. With sharp eyes, I spotted my sister's name and the Golden Crow consort at the very bottom of the fifth stone. I followed the White Wolf Queen to take our place at the head of the gathering, but my sister, lost in the joy of choosing a new mother, paid no heed to the commotion. Clasping the White Wolf Queen's hand, I walked toward the welcoming feast prepared in our honor. Before the banquet began, my sister gripped a beast bone and arched an eyebrow at me, saying, "Sister, I hope you'll live happily with the White Wolf Queen and spend your life with that wretched snake. Don't come crying to me when it all falls apart." I knew it. She thought choosing the Golden Crow would let her marry the Black Eagle and become queen of all beasts. Watching her retreating figure, I couldn't help but sneer. Let that monstrous brute be her problem now. The orcs all say I'm blessed, but they don't know how much torment I've endured from that Black Hawk. Even before becoming Beast King, he was broken, physically flawed and mentally twisted. After seizing the throne through vile means, his cruelty toward me only intensified. Every time my heat cycle comes, he whips me with that bone-lashed scourge. No matter how desperately I begged for mercy, he just yanked my rabbit ears and sneered, "Little bunny, you'll always belong beneath me." After that day, I had to bundle up in multiple fur coats just to go outside, otherwise I'd lose control in public. These shameful secrets became burdens I swallowed alone. In my previous life before marriage, the Golden Crow consort never favored me. She wouldn't even let me enter the fire-warmed beast den. She found my temperament too dull. While my younger sister was vivacious and charming, in her heart, she blamed me for failing to win the Wolf King's favor for her. The Black Wolf King had few consorts, yet she alone remained barren. Our rabbit clan has always mastered herbal arts, yet only when I brew potions that boost her chances of conception am I allowed to rest in the burrow. But whenever she fails to conceive, she casts me out to the winged beasts. They'd snatch me up, soar skyward only to hurl me down, smashing me against the earth. Once they left me broken and bleeding. She merely lifted her haughty head and pressed her foot against my cheek. You won't enter this cave until you've pleased the king enough to visit me. This was her warning and punishment for me. I begged the beast servants, but they all feared the golden crow consort, wouldn't even spare me a bowl of vegetable soup. Later that night, racked with pain, I sought out my sister and begged her to plead for mercy. She immediately turned and repeated my words verbatim at the tribal beast feast. The golden crow consort seated beside me wore a grave expression. When the black wolf king questioned me about the matter, her claws left bloody gashes on my thigh, forced to lift my head with a strained smile. I shook my head. Just a joke. My sister persisted relentlessly, pointing at the wounds hidden beneath my beast-hide garments with wide, innocent eyes as she cried out loudly, "That's not true. Big sister told me the golden crow concubine constantly mistreats and beats her." My face turned deathly pale in an instant, my heart dropping like a stone. The matter was brushed aside with a few dismissive words from the golden crow concubine and her beast attendants. That night, I was tortured to within an inch of my life. Later, the queen gave birth to the wolf king's heir, and the black wolf king showered all his affection upon the cub. I had thought she would finally relent and mercifully spare me, but the golden crow consort, deeming me worthless, hastily betrothed me to the black eagle. It was still that remote beast den, inhabited solely by the golden crow consort's kin. Upon hearing the news, the white wolf queen smiled and wed her sister to the beast king's most prized disciple, the black serpent. On my wedding day, my sister rushed through the night, begging to see me one last time. Her eyes glistened with tears as she sniffled, the very picture of pitiful sorrow. "Sister, don't forget me after you're married, and remember Lady Golden Crow too." I thought she was just immature before, but now she's come to her senses. Yet she leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Sister, you and that broken black hawk are a match made in heaven." The moment those words were spoken, I felt like plunging into an icy abyss. After the welcoming feast, I moved into the private den reserved for the white wolf queen. It was several times larger than the golden crow consort's quarters. I wonder if my little sister will find this place comfortable. At dawn the next day, I carried the brewed medicinal soup with me and knocked on the queen's wooden door. She had long suffered from headaches, worsened by years of living in the damp, chilly beast den that left her body chilled. Yet my sister in our past life never cared about such things. After the white wolf queen gave birth to her cub, she simply devoted all her attention to the little one. That's why my sister came to see the white wolf queen as cold and unfeeling, believing she held no affection for her. But there's actually a reason behind all this. The beastly servant spotted me and bowed respectfully to usher me inside. Chapter 2, Mother, I noticed you seemed unwell during yesterday's banquet. I've prepared some herbal medicine specifically for headaches. Just take it every few days. I caught a fleeting glimpse of surprise and delight in the white wolf's eyes. She gestured for me to approach, smoothing my fur with a gentle tone. "These are old battle wounds from fighting alongside the king years ago. No physician could ever cure them. I appreciate your kindness, Olivia." I could tell her wariness toward outsiders was fading, though. She didn't seem convinced of my medical skills. "Mother, may I check your pulse first?" With white wolf's nod, I pressed my fingers against her wrist, feeling the rhythmic throb of her pulse. Withdrawing my hand with a soft chuckle, I said, "If you trust me, Mother, let me try. I might just cure that chronic ailment that's plagued you for years." "Agreed," the white wolf queen replied heartily. After days of shuttling between the beast den and the archives, I finally discovered rare herbs and folk remedies recorded on a parchment scroll. My eyes settled on one particular herb. This flower thrives in frigid lands, capable of dispelling inner cold. A perfect remedy for the white wolf queen's chronic headaches. I presented my discovery to the queen. Worry lines creased her brow as she grasped my hand. "I saw this flower years ago in the frozen mountains, but it grows on perilous cliffs, too treacherous for even the hardiest beasts to reach, let alone a fragile rabbit orphan like me." That's precisely why retrieving this herb could change everything, curing her headaches, ensuring her wolf pup's safe birth, and elevating my standing beyond measure. My gaze was resolute. "Mother, rest assured, I will cure you of this illness." That punishment the golden crow consort inflicted by banishing me to the beastkin clan wasn't for nothing. Drawing from my past life memories, I located a massive golden eagle. He alone spoke up for me back then, even sparing me under the golden crow Consort's oppression. After some negotiation, I promised to reward him with his favorite flame hair grass once the job was done. Only then did he agree to take me to the snow mountain tomorrow, late at night. I ventured to the forest's edge to gather herbs for tomorrow's cold weather. Just as I was digging away with all my might, an unexpected voice suddenly came from behind. "What are you looking for?" I jumped in fright, nearly dropping the shovel in my hand. Turning around, I saw the black serpent. My sister's betrothed from our past lives. He was coiled around a towering ancient tree, his forked tongue flickering. In the next instant, he transformed into human form, clad in an obsidian robe with golden beast-like pupils gleaming mysteriously in the moonlight. Patting my chest, I said, "I'm heading to the snow mountains tomorrow to gather herbs for Mother's headache remedy. Just digging up some winter gear now." He arched an eyebrow, watching me with an amused smirk. "You, just a little bunny. Like you're looking down on rabbits." Annoyed, I tucked the herbs into my fur and left him with nothing but a rabbit silhouette. At dawn the next day, I pushed open the door and climbed onto the golden eagle's talon back. "Let's go." At the mountain's snowy peak, biting winds howled as I clung desperately to his feathers, enduring the piercing cold. Then, amidst the endless white expanse, I spotted it, a glistening flower swaying gracefully in the frozen gale. The golden eagle perched on a nearby cliff, watching me from afar. As I reached for the blossom, an overwhelming aura of menace struck me. I looked up to see a snow leopard standing before me, its eyes gleaming with ferocity. It looked like it wanted to put a few holes through me. Before I could speak, it bared its fangs and snarled, "Damn rabbit, trespassing in my territory, you're asking for death." My heart lurched, my grip slipped, and I plummeted straight down the cliff. The sensation of falling vanished abruptly as something cold broke my descent. Snake scales brushed against my rabbit fur. It was the obsidian serpent. "Hold tight, little rabbit." He shifted into human form, drew a black whip, and lashed it toward an ancient tree on the cliffside. Coiling around the trunk, the serpent's tail coiled around me, yanking the whip with such force that it sent me soaring into the air. The moment we landed, he locked in a fierce grapple with the snow leopard. I plucked the flower effortlessly and quickly tucked it into the rabbit fur for safekeeping. Their battle raged with such intensity that the surrounding snow trembled and cascaded down. Then I heard the snow leopard let out a mournful cry. Just as the golden eagle swooped toward me, I hastily leaped onto its back, glanced back at the unharmed black serpent, and shouted, "Go now." After returning to the beast den, I hurried toward the White Wolf Queen's dwelling. I presented it to her like a treasured offering. "Mother, I've brought back the flower." The White Wolf Queen gazed at the faintly glowing blossom before embracing me tightly in her arms. She had dismissed my words as childish whims, never expecting I'd actually go. "Olivia, how did you retrieve it from such perilous grounds? Are you hurt anywhere?" With that, she pulled me close and gave me a thorough once-over. Only after confirming I was unharmed did she finally relax. Tilting my face upward, I wiped the melted snow from my hands before taking hers. "Mother, none of this matters compared to having you. All Olivia wants is for Mother to be safe." Seeing the glimmer of tears in her eyes, I knew my gambit had paid off. Then I took her hand and feigned surprise, covering my mouth dramatically. "Mother, you're with child. It must be little wolf brother." The white wolf's eyes widened in astonishment, her face lighting up with joy as she gripped me tightly. "Truly," I nodded emphatically, explaining I'd dreamed of her giving birth to a wolf cub brother. She was overjoyed. The queen bearing a male heir meant the cub would directly inherit the Beast King's throne. I spent a full 7 days brewing this medicine. After the White Wolf Queen drank it, her pain miraculously vanished. My title as the sacred medicine beast of our tribe wasn't earned for nothing. The next day, the Beast King summoned all tribal beasts to the great gathering. I saw my sister, whom I hadn't met in ages. In just over 10 days, she had become radiant, strutting about like a proud peacock. Especially when our eyes met, she walked right up to me, chin held high. "Sister, how are you getting along with that heartless queen? I'd advise you to find a way to poison that little wolf in her belly soon, or you'll be out of favor before long. Don't think your current glory means anything. Once I marry Black Eagle and live the good life, you'll be beneath my feet." Before I could respond, the Wolf King stood at the center and silenced the crowd. He let out a howl, and the sea of wolves below echoed in unison. "I've gathered everyone here today to make an important announcement. From this day forward, Olivia shall be recognized as the chief sacred beast of all our tribes, and more importantly, my firstborn child, the first princess of our people." The proclamation sent shockwaves through the assembled beasts. My sister's face drained of color as she whirled to stare at me in disbelief. "Impossible, I'm the real princess. she truly believed that even if given another chance, she'd remain the Black Wolf King's most cherished child. Besides, last time they only granted us princess titles after we were married off. Her innocent face contorted abruptly as she lunged at me with clawed hands. How dare you claim to be the princess? That title belongs to me. I shoved her aside and ascended the platform, where the Black Wolf King ceremoniously placed the beast crown upon my head according to tradition, tilting my chin up. I gazed down at my sister with regal superiority, her face twisted with resentment, eyes burning with jealousy and hatred. A smirk curled my lips. This was only the beginning. I couldn't be bothered to engage in verbal sparring with my sister's taunts. After being appointed chief sacred beast, the white wolf relocated me to a den closer to her own each day. Beyond tending to her health, I also interacted with other tribal beasts. The tribes under Black Wolf's command were vast beyond measure. Chapter 3. I traveled through every clan, healing wounded and sick orcs, swiftly earning their trust and devotion. The orcs affectionately called me the Princess of Sacred Remedies, yet I never forgot my sister's warning, nor the tragic fate of the wolf cub in my past life. I know my sister's fall from grace wasn't due to the white wolf's favoritism. In our past life, the little wolf had been frail since birth and nearly died young. What truly caused this? Those years passed in a blink, and the cub grew up without incident. Yet the white wolf queen never favored him over me. My lost status had other reasons. It was my younger sister who suffered first. The Golden Crow concubine had already begun tormenting her. While practicing medicine among the avian tribes, I caught a glimpse of my grievously wounded sister by chance. Even before the rabbit clan's fall, she never applied herself to healing arts. Now, deemed worthless by the Golden Crow, she's inevitably being broken. She must have just been tossed around like plaything by those winged beasts. Her paws are mangled beyond recognition. Watching her like this, I felt not an ounce of pity in my heart. It wasn't until a blushing bluebird brought me its hunted prey that my younger sister finally noticed me. As I ate the game he'd roasted, my sister rolled over and pleaded in a pitiful tone, "Could you please tell the White Wolf Queen, my life here is miserable. The Golden Crow concubine does nothing but scold and beat me. Go inform the Black Wolf King quickly." In my past life, I knelt and kowtowed begging her, yet she just sneered while putting on a pitiful act. She pretended to promise my rescue, then immediately reported me at the clan beast banquet. The azure bird kicked her upon hearing this. Seeing I remained silent, it finally scolded, "Hold your tongue before the princess." My sister grew frantic when she realized I wasn't going to save her, her face twisting in fury. "What are you doing here? Come to mock me?" Baring her teeth, she lunged at me as if to bite. The next instant, my beastly attendants pinned her down, forcing her to her knees. "How dare you disrespect the sacred alchemy, princess?" My sister's eyes burned crimson. "What princess? I'm the true princess here. Once I marry Blackhawk and become queen of all beasts, I'll slaughter every last one of you stinking beast men," I gasped, covering my mouth in shock. "Father and Madam haven't even arranged your marriage yet. How could you possibly know you'd wed Black Eagle, unless you've already? How dare you speak such treasonous words while father still lives?" I clutched my chest in fury, feeling like I might collapse any second. He ordered the beast servant nearby, "Quick, go fetch the madam at once." When she arrived in haste, her face was filled with panic. The Golden Crow concubine was always one to fawn on those above and trample those below. Now that I'm a noble princess, she's completely changed her tune. "Divine medicine princess, how did she dare offend you?" Without hearing the full story, she immediately blamed her younger sister. As I was still wiping away tears, the beast servant beside me took the cue and said, "My lady, Princess Hazel just declared she would marry the Black Eagle, and even claimed she'd become the queen of all beasts." Every beastfolk present was stunned, with the Golden Crow consort turning visibly pale, but I couldn't let my sister die so easily, so I spoke up in her defense. Perhaps my beast servant misheard, but my sister did say she would marry the Black Eagle. Terror was written all over my sister's face. "I never said such things, they're making it all up. Mother, please don't hit me." Before the words even faded, Consort Jinwoo raised her hand and struck, claiming I couldn't bear to watch. I hastily made my exit. I knew my sister would keep scheming against me after this incident. She was the one who chose her mother in both lifetimes, yet she still blames me for it. She'll never be content with what she has. Hazel only dislikes the White Wolf because of her own greed. Counting the days, I've now reached marriageable age. Young males kept bringing me flowers and game, hoping to win my favor. The White Wolf Queen asked if any had caught my eye, and I shook my head with flushed cheeks. "Mother, Olivia only wishes to care for you and help my brother become the next Wolf King. Even if I were to choose, I'd only trust your selection, mother. That would set Olivia's heart at ease." The white wolf affectionately patted my head with a tender expression, a glimmer flashing in its eyes. This implied the wolf cub was destined to become the future beast king. Before she could speak, howls echoed from outside the door. "Mother, elder sister." The wolf pup pounced at me suddenly, baring his pointy teeth in a playful grin. "Sister, I hunted a deer for you today. The beast servants are already dressing it." He lifted his head and nuzzled against me with his slightly prickly fur, acting spoiled, inheriting the Black Wolf King's valor. The pup grew increasingly attached to me under the care of both the white wolf and myself. I simply can't understand why my sister sees him as such a mortal threat, and why does the white wolf focus entirely on the cub while completely neglecting my sister? In this lifetime, I'm determined to get to the bottom of this. I reached out and tapped his damp little nose, still as rowdy as ever. "Aren't you afraid mother will laugh at you?" He pounced on the white wolf again, nuzzling her with his head. "Mother, why are there so many male beasts outside? Are you choosing a husband for elder sister?" The white wolf shifted her gaze to me and nodded, saying, "So, do you think anyone out there is worthy of your sister?" The little wolf scrunched up his face and yelped loudly. "Of course not. Big Sis is the chief sacred beast, gorgeous and peerless. How could anyone measure up?" The white wolf chuckled at his antics, then turned to me for my opinion. "In that case, why not pick someone you fancy at the clan beast banquet?" The little wolf immediately stood up and clapped his paws, while I pretended to be coy and nodded. In my past life, it was at that very banquet where my younger sister publicly humiliated me. This led to my punishment by the golden crow concubine upon returning, and in a fit of anger, I married the black eagle with tattered wings. That was when the little wolf suddenly fell gravely ill. My gut told me my sister was somehow involved in this. I'll see for myself how she pulled this off. The night before the clan beast banquet, I went to inspect the herb fields. Just as expected, someone had tampered with the herb garden. Precious medicinal herbs had been uprooted, leaving only bare soil behind. I reached out to touch it, then brought it close to smell. It was another herb that counteracts this medicinal plant. Combining these two can cause dizziness, hallucinations, mental confusion at best, or sudden death at worst. My heart skipped a beat. I instantly knew my sister was behind this. She must be trying to frame me, to make White Wolf lose faith in me and suffer the same fate she endured in her past life. In this lifetime, I've never harmed her first, yet she's never stopped coming after me. The next morning, I took the little wolf with me. "Today, you're only allowed to accept food from your elder sister, no one else. If you perform the act sister assigned well, I'll reward you with flame hair meat." His eyes widened, and he nodded emphatically. At the banquet, I saw my younger sister again. When she noticed me, she came over provocatively and said, "You look stunning today, sister. Just try not to embarrass yourself at the banquet." I smiled faintly. "How amusing. Shouldn't you be focusing on preparing your gift instead of worrying about me?" "Quite puzzling indeed." She snorted coldly and stormed off without a backward glance. I'd already stationed beast servants to monitor her every move, so I turned the tables, sent the young wolf away and returned to the cave to change into the snow-white fox fur bestowed by the Black Wolf King. The next instant, the wooden door slammed shut. With a decisive click of the lock, I pounded on the door in panic, deliberately shouting for the orcs outside to hear. My sister's venomous voice slithered through the door crack. "This is all your fault, sister. Look what you've reduced me to. Don't you dare blame me for this." I set the bear trap in place and crawled out through the pre-dug tunnel. She resents me for telling Jinwoo what she said last time, and now seeks to tarnish my virtue. But I'm no longer that timid, pushover rabbit from my past life. After climbing out, I watched from a distance as a bluebird suddenly alighted by the window. It was that very beast who'd tried to court me before. My own sister actually convinced him, plotting to drag me into eternal damnation. Though a princess may keep multiple male consorts, such arrangements must wait until after marriage. I watched coldly as he climbed through the window, only to hear a blood-curdling scream, mistaking the sound for my voice. My sister ran yapping to the White Wolf Queen's side. "My queen," I heard my sister doing unspeakable things with a beast in the cave. The white wolf refused to believe it, but followed her to the cave entrance. Moans and whimpers echoed from within, but it was merely the bluebird caught in my trap. The younger sister flung the door open with a triumphant smirk. "Sister, how could you engage in such indecent acts at the banquet? What if your future mate finds out?" Her words died in her throat as the scene inside left her speechless. A bluebird lay in disarray on the floor, Its wings and talons trapped by scattered hunting snares, I emerged leisurely from my hiding spot, meeting my sister's furious glare. "Mother, what are you doing here, little sister? Why are you standing at the entrance of my den?" My sister pointed at me, her face pale and her words slurred. "Why you? How are you here? I clearly saw you go inside." Staring at those mechanisms, she seemed to have a sudden realization. "Your Majesty, my sister deliberately placed these contraptions in the cave. She must have sinister intentions." The white wolf's face remained stern as he spoke with gravity. "Hazel, is this how Golden Crow raised you? No manners. And now framing my child, I was the one who instructed her to place these here as precautions for the banquet. How could this possibly indicate ill intent?" At the mention of the Golden Crow, my sister's body convulsed violently. She dropped to her knees with a thud, desperately pleading for mercy. I observed them coldly before speaking up to smooth things over. "Mother, perhaps my sister didn't mean it. Let's just demote this bluebird to a beast servant." The white wolf nodded, looking at me with tender concern. "Olivia, you're always so sensible. Mother will surely find you a fine male beast." Arm in arm with Mother, we walked toward the banquet. Behind me, my sister's viper-like gaze coiled around me relentlessly. The banquet square roared with bestial clamor. A scene of boisterous revelry. Following our prearranged script, I accepted the meat broth offered by the beastly attendant. This was the very bowl she'd laced with poisonous herbs. Little did she know, I'd already slipped the antidote in. The wolf cub took the broth and downed it in one gulp. I stole a glance at my sister, catching a flash of malice in her eyes. Moments later, the cub clutched at me. "Sis," my head spinning. With those words, he turned deathly pale, gasped for breath, and collapsed to the ground with a thud. Unaware of what had happened, the white wolf rushed over in panic. "My son." Chaos erupted instantly as the beast men crowded around, bombarding them with overlapping questions. Chapter 4. My sister shrieked dramatically, pointing at me and yelling, "It was you, you're the one who served him this soup. How could you be so wicked as to poison it?" With teary eyes, I feigned panic. "I served it to him myself. Why would I ever harm my own brother? Someone must be framing me." With that, I covered my face and collapsed to my knees, sobbing. My sister gave a cold laugh, pulling a small pouch from her robe and holding it aloft. "Framed you? This is what I found in your herb garden, and the poisonous plants in your beast den are the exact counteragents to these herbs." The beast folk erupted in uproar, with several avian creatures rising to point accusing talons at me. The white wolf commanded the beast servant to take the object from her hands and pass it to me. "Olivia, what on earth is going on here?" I simply hung my head and wept silently. "Father, your Majesty, my sister attempted to murder our brother. She must be executed." Just as my sister was gloating, the young wolf suddenly sat up, looking completely unfazed. All the beast folk present were startled, especially my sister and those avian creatures, their faces turning pale. "How are you fine?" "No, that's impossible. You clearly," I sneered, "little brother's unharmed. Yet you seem disappointed. Were you hoping he'd been poisoned?" Even the dullest orc could grasp what was happening in this situation. I pressed forward relentlessly, giving her no room to breathe. "Why did you trespass in my herb garden? Why enter my den? Why claim these medicinal plants were tainted? And why tamper with them to poison my brother?" My sister stood speechless before my accusations, her face alternating between pallor and flush. The surrounding orcs began murmuring among themselves. "No way. Why would she harm anyone? Who knows? Probably just jealous of her sister being favored. Trying to frame her. How dare someone like this call herself our tribe's princess? The heart of a beast is truly unknowable." Her lips quivered as she shook her head desperately in denial. "I didn't. I just wanted to help sister check the herbs. I'd never harm anyone." Picking up the pouch she'd been holding, I demanded, "Is this how you check? By mixing incompatible herbs together?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I turned to the silent Wolf King, my voice trembling with hurt. "Father, I knew my sister disliked me, but I never imagined she'd go so far as to endanger our brother's life just to frame me." The Wolf King's face darkened ominously, his eyes brimming with profound disappointment. "Guards, take Princess Hazel away for sentencing, and those avian beasts, demote them all to stable servants." Golden Crow, do you have any objections? The Golden Crow consort, dragged into the mess by her younger sister, shook her head with a face ashen with fury. That foolish girl would surely face dire consequences for this. Just like in their past life, the younger sister was betrothed by the Golden Crow consort to the clan's Black Eagle. My sister came running to me, beaming with joy. Just you wait, every ounce of suffering you've inflicted on me, I'll repay tenfold when I become queen. I lowered my eyes to hide the cold smirk playing on my lips. Fine, marry that perverted beast man if that's what you want, dear sister. How could I ever covet your mate? My mate remains the beast king's disciple, the black serpent. When we met again, he seemed even more handsome than before. Our wedding banquet was an extraordinarily grand affair. I thought he'd be as aloof and ascetic as in his past life, yet he comes demanding my company every night. The obsidian serpent built a den for me with his own hands. Our days are simple yet blissful. Many male beasts sought to court me, only to be thoroughly thrashed by the obsidian serpent. My sister married the black eagle as she wished, but we've heard no word from her since. I wonder if she's been tortured beyond recognition by now. The Wolf King and Queen's favorite child married their most trusted disciple, sending lavish gifts periodically. I often ventured deep into the forest to give thanks to the gods. In this lifetime, I lived blissfully, quickly conceiving and laying serpent eggs. The Great Beast Gathering is the annual spectacle where creatures of all kinds converge. Before the beast wars commence, my sister and Black Hawk will return to sabotage the event. I know Black Hawk is the mastermind behind this war. He sows discord among tribes, feeding them madness-inducing elixirs that turn them into bloodthirsty monsters, so I had the black serpent make preparations among the tribes early on to prevent his sneak attack. At the gathering, I immediately spotted my sister and Black Hawk's familiar faces. The black serpent followed my gaze toward them, its tail coiling around my waist as a cold smirk curled its lips. The show is about to begin. My sister couldn't resist coming to taunt me. Sister, that belly of yours, looks like my child will have to call yours elder sibling first. I forced a smile. After all these years of marriage, dear sister, why is your belly still silent? Could it be that black eagle? I knew full well about his inadequacy in that department. Black Eagle's face turned ashen, his sinister gaze sweeping over me before he wordlessly dragged her away. I kept watching their movements, just as expected. They slipped away during the peak of the banquet when the beast crowd grew rowdy. Without batting an eye, I continued chatting and laughing with the chieftains' wives from other tribes. Before long, they returned with barely concealed excitement on their faces, as originally planned. Tonight's main event would be the tribal chieftains sharing the ceremonial roasted beast, a symbol of unity. Chapter 5. This is a traditional rite of the Great Beast Gathering. My sister and Blackhawk likely tampered with the roasted beast, lacing it with madness-inducing powder meant for all to consume. I recalled my past life, when every beast man turned into mindless monsters, plunging the entire beast world into horrific chaos. That treacherous villain Black Eagle seized the opportunity to fulfill his ambition of dominating the beast world. In my past life, by the time I learned of this, he had already succeeded, but in this lifetime, I came prepared. How could I possibly let them have their way? Chapter 8. The banquet reached its climax as the roasted beast was served. When the massive, aromatic roast was carried to the central stone table, all the orcs erupted in cheers. I turned slightly and caught the glint of exhilaration in my sister's and Black Hawk's eyes, as if they could already see their scheme coming to fruition. Just then, a tantalizingly sweet fruity aroma wafted through the air, instantly capturing every orc's attention. What's that incredible smell? So fragrant, it's coming from over there. Let's check it out. The orcs all turned their heads toward the source of the alluring scent. Several bear-like beast men carried in enormous fruit baskets overflowing with fragrant fruits. These exotic fruits were secretly laced with my special potion. The aroma perfectly masked the frenzy powder they'd scattered. My sister turned pale, but I pretended not to notice as I carved the finest cut of meat. Little sister, father asked me to treat you well. Here, have this choice cut of meat. When she hesitated to take it, I stepped forward to feed her myself. Suddenly she shoved me, knocking the meat to the ground, then exhaled in relief. Seizing the moment, I tore off her outer beast hide cloak. The scent of powder spread instantly, and nearby beast men began showing signs of frenzy. Black Eagle's face contorted as he violently flung the powder from his arms onto my face. You ruined everything. Die. The obsidian serpent whipped its tail, hurling him aside while I swiftly shoved the prepared antidote into my mouth. Guards, seize them. At my command, the obsidian serpent's elite operatives emerged from the shadows, surrounding Hazel and Blackhawk in an inescapable circle. No, you can't do this to me. I'm the tribal princess. Sister, you can't arrest me. We share the same blood. Hazel thrashed wildly, but it was no use. I sneered. Princess, soon you'll be nothing at all. I once thought we were sisters, but all she ever wanted was to destroy me. I looked down at the two disheveled figures without a shred of pity in my eyes. The banquet hall erupted as the Orcs began spitting at them in outrage. Execute them, scum of the beast realm. The Black Wolf King pushed through the doors, and the beasts fell silent instantly. Outside, a dark mass of figures still knelt in submission. I'd already warned the queen to prepare for an avian assault. They've held a grudge since last time. As the princess of a major tribe, they sent my sister to infiltrate and gather intelligence. Little did they know, I'd already laid a trap. My sister was pinned down, desperately kowtowing to the Black Wolf King for mercy. Father, I was momentarily deceived. I never participated in harming the beast folk. It was Lady Golden Crow and Black Hawk who threatened me. They said they'd torture me if I didn't obey. Father, you must believe me. Without exposing the truth, I stepped forward, carved a few pieces from the roasted beast, and sprinkled the antidote. The meat immediately turned black and began rotting at visible speed. The young wolf now carried himself like a true alpha, snarling with rage. He strode forward and swiped at her with his paw. If not for my sister's nightmares that made us prepare in advance, you would have succeeded in your murderous scheme. How dare you still stand here making excuses? The dark serpent's past injuries were also inflicted by that black eagle. His golden serpentine eyes flickered with a murderous glint. As a princess of the great tribe, how dare you conspire with them? You all deserve to be thrown into the serpent abyss. The mere mention of that place made his younger sister tremble uncontrollably. With sudden strength she didn't know she possessed, she broke free and drew a bone dagger from her robes, thrusting it toward the nearest wolf cub. The young wolf had no time to react. I leapt in front to take the blow, but my vision abruptly darkened. The blade must have been poisoned. Every beast folk present panicked, especially the wolf cub and the obsidian serpent. Sister, madam, Hazel, the overlapping shouts rang out as I heavily closed my eyes. My sister won't escape punishment this time. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying on the familiar fur-covered bed. Standing beside me were the black serpent, the little wolf, and the queen. They all let out sighs of relief when they saw me wake. The little wolf was the first to tear up, nuzzling me with his furry head. Sister, you're finally awake. The obsidian serpent yanked him away before transforming into snake form and slithering onto my bed to lie beside me. The queen let out a soft chuckle at the sight. Seeing you like this puts my mind at ease. The queen recounted to me what happened afterward. After the assassination attempt by his sister, the Black Wolf King flew into a rage, denouncing the traitors among the beast kin. The beasts clamored for vengeance for the sacred medicine princess, immediately dragging her and the rebellious avian beasts to the serpent's abyss. A dozen tribal chiefs kicked them down one by one. The screams echoed endlessly, lasting 2 or 3 days. My sister and Black Hawk ultimately met their demise through their own folly and greed. I thought my life had ended there, destined for rebirth or eternal exclusion from the cycle of reincarnation. The obsidian serpent risked its life to retrieve the deathbane herb from the swamp, returning battered and bruised to save my life. He whimpered twice in my arms before turning his head away. When I kissed his forehead, his entire face flushed an unnatural crimson. The white wolf queen led her cub out the door. The remaining time is yours to decide. The obsidian serpent pinned me beneath it, its voice a gravelly whisper. My lady, I've missed you terribly. Only one thought consumed my mind now. How many litters of snake babies will there be in the future? Story 2, the virus mutated, and the end of the world arrived. Relying on my good fighting skills, I protected my boyfriend and my cousin as we fled all the way. At the end of the second year of the apocalypse, we finally reached the vicinity of the safe base, but in the blink of an eye, my boyfriend pushed me to take the place of my screaming cousin and fend off the zombies. In the end, I was torn to pieces by countless zombies. Before I died, my mother, who disappeared after taking in my cousin's family, flashed through my mind. The family heirloom that was borrowed by my cousin and lost, and the strange expression of a strange man, both smiling and regretful. I stared at my boyfriend, who was running for his life with my cousin, full of hatred in my eyes. Finally, I closed my eyes heavily. At the same time, it seemed that an electronic voice sounded in my ear. When I opened my eyes again, there were no ugly and ferocious zombies, nor the bitch and the scumbag who wanted to take my life. I was in the bedroom of the apartment next to Suching University, where I had lived for a year. I couldn't believe it and groped for my phone from the bedside table. When I opened it, I saw September 20th, 2030. I was reborn a week before the end of the world. I quickly got out of bed, opened the curtains and looked down. Downstairs was the familiar grocery store. Opposite was Suching University, where I had studied for a year. And today, not long after the university started, there were people coming and going, and everywhere was full of vitality. I rushed into the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. looking up at my young and delicate face in the mirror. The 19-year-old girl had fair skin, which was no longer the emaciated and sallow face 2 years later. Margot should not have died. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't even make a sound. The end of the world would come again. In the 2 years of the apocalypse I experienced, the mutation of the virus caused the living dead and zombies to surround the city. This was also the reason why, although Sucheng was only 300 kilometers away from Licheng and it only took 4 hours to drive, it took me a full 2 years to get there. I smiled bitterly and walked into the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator and stood right in front of it, stuffing all the edible food in it into my mouth. I hadn't been full for a whole 2 years, and now I just wanted to have a good meal. After eating 2 sandwiches, a piece of ham, and a small piece of cake, the only thing left to eat in the refrigerator was a watermelon. I took out the fruit knife next to it and cut the watermelon in half. I accidentally cut my finger. These hands were no longer as rough and ugly as they were after 2 years of survival in the apocalypse. The fair fingers bled profusely from a small wound. The blood flowed onto the white jade ring on my middle finger. Suddenly, my eyes went dark, and I entered a space. The space was 5 times the size of the apartment I lived in, probably around 500 square meters, about 3 meters high, and it was empty with nothing in it. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the kitchen. The ring was gone, and only a red dot was left where I wore the ring. I looked at the red dot in surprise, and the knife in my other hand suddenly disappeared. I shook my head and looked again, and the knife appeared in my hand again, a space like a chinkun bag. I picked up the watermelon next to me and tried it. I thought, collect, in my mind, and the watermelon disappeared again. Then I thought, take out, and sure enough, it appeared in my hand again. I laughed with excitement and tears in my eyes. I finally understood why my boyfriend, who had been with me for more than 2 years, pushed me to take the place of Hazel and block the zombies, because in my previous life, the white jade ring left to me by my father was lost after being borrowed by Hazel. I guessed that she got this opportunity and didn't want to return it to me. The reason why they kept me was, first, I had learned Taekwondo and could still resist the enemies to some extent. Second, I was good-looking and was a well-known department beauty in the Department of Chemistry, in case someone had evil intentions. Their eyes would definitely be on me first. In my previous life, Margot was out of my mind and couldn't see through Hazel and Isaac, who were two-faced. In this life, without my opportunity and without me protecting them in front, I would like to see what kind of end this bitch and the scumbag would come to. I quickly treated the wound, without bothering to eat anymore. I dug out all my savings. There were 700,000 yuan in cash and 2 property certificates. My family conditions were not bad. When I was a child, my father opened a jade shop, and my mother was a nutritionist. Later, after my father passed away, my mother sold the jade shop and raised me alone. My mother was the only relative I had in this world. In order to make life better for my mother and me in the end of the world, I decided to sell the house, convert it into cash, and quickly stockpile food. In fact, there should be 3 property certificates in my family. One was the property certificate of the old house, which was given to my father by my grandfather. The property certificate of the villa in Licheng was with my mother. I only had the property certificate of the apartment my mother bought for me after I came to study in Sucheng, and the property certificate of the house that was compensated after my father died in a car accident when I was in primary school. This property certificate was in my name. But Hazel's family was still living in this house now. It was not easy for my mother to raise me alone. She always thought that it was easy for me and my mother, an orphan and a widow, to be bullied, so she hoped that my uncle could take care of us when we were bullied, and my good uncle directly brought Hazel's family to live in this compensated house. He said it nicely that he was helping us look after the house, but in fact, he was taking advantage of our misfortune and wanted to occupy our family property. My mother didn't take the house back because of face. This time, I would just have a showdown. I immediately called my mother. "Hello, Margot, my dear." It was a familiar voice that I hadn't heard for 2 years. Suppressing my sadness, I took a deep breath and said calmly, "Mom, I miss you. I want to go home." "Oh, Margot, what's wrong? Is someone bullying you at school?" "Mom, I'm fine. It's just that the weekend is coming soon. I want to go home and see you. I will also buy some things and send them back by express. Please help me collect them." In addition, I saw several cases of burglary and murder on the internet. I think the doors and windows at home are not strong enough, and I don't feel safe. I want to redecorate. Mom, can you support me? Okay, then Mom will make some delicious food at home and wait for you to come back. My mother, who always thought that I had suffered, would agree to anything as long as I didn't do anything wrong too. I couldn't be sure if the end of the world would come earlier. I had to go home early, but I couldn't send supplies directly to my home, to avoid being targeted by the decoration workers. I had to stockpile some supplies in Sucheng before leaving. I only survived for 2 years in the apocalypse, and I didn't know what other extreme challenges were waiting for us after 2 years. I had to buy a little of everything. To save time, I contacted a reliable construction team in Licheng online. Hello, master. I have a house in the Licheng Villa area that I want to renovate. I want to add an electric fence to the wall, reinforce the doors and windows, use 5-layer hardened steel glass for the windows, and install underfloor heating, a generator, and a water storage tank. I need it to be renovated within 3 days. The master looked speechless. That's impossible. Many things still need to be measured and the goods need to be delivered by the factory. I'll triple the price. Girl, 3 days is too rushed. 4 times the price. Tell me the specific address, and I'll send someone right away. After doing all this, just the deposit cost 200,000 yuan. Remembering the days of lack of food and clothing in my previous life, I thought that Isaac was able to abandon me immediately and run away with Hazel because he knew about her space. While they were secretly eating and storing food behind my back, I was enduring the cold and hunger. In this life, I must live a good life with my mother. The space was only 500 square meters, and every square meter had to be carefully planned. Fortunately, it was high enough to stack things. Worried that I would miss something, I made a shopping list for myself. 100 square meters for food, rice, cooking oil, noodles, bread, chocolate, biscuits, instant noodles, self-heating hot pot, meat, vegetables, fruits, dried goods and nuts, salt, seasonings, and all kinds of snacks. 100 square meters for water, barreled water, mineral water, domestic water, drinks, and milk. 50 square meters for clothing. 1,000 sets of clothes and shoes for both my mother and me for all seasons. I also need to prepare a little of other women's, men's, and children's styles in case of need, plus some bed sheets and warm supplies. 50 square meters for medicine, common medicines for colds and fevers, bruises and sprains, antibiotics, essential balm, cooling oil, alcohol, iodophor, sterile gauze, Yunnan Baiyao, etc. I will place orders at all the pharmacies for both traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine. For the medicines that I can't buy, I will collect them when the end of the world comes. 100 square meters for daily necessities, toothpaste, toothbrush, facial tissues, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, pots and pans, solid alcohol, gas, shampoo, shower gel, hand sanitizer, towels, insecticides, and large trash cans. Among them, 20 square meters should be set aside for weapons, to put baseball bats, crossbows, maces, fruit knives, military knives, anti-wolf sprays, stun guns, entrenching shovels, etc. For the last 100 square meters, I decided to put in 1 RV, 1 SUV, 1 motorcycle, and 3 assault boats, and fill them with gasoline and diesel. If I can fill this 500 square meter space that is 3 meters high, it will be no problem for my mother and me to live a good life in the apocalypse for 10 years. It was too time-consuming and laborious to stockpile supplies by myself. I directly rented a large remote warehouse in Licheng online for 2 weeks and contacted 6 intermediaries. I hired them for a week at a price of 10,000 yuan each. I gave each of them a purchase list for a category of supplies and asked them to help contact the sellers in the large market. I asked them to buy food, water, daily necessities, and clothing supplies in units of 1,000 copies respectively. In addition, I gave an extra 20,000 yuan to each intermediary who could buy medicine and gasoline. Medicine and gasoline were controlled items, and it was more troublesome to contact the sellers. It was reasonable to give more money. They surely couldn't buy a lot of medicine and gasoline, but I would stockpile some first, and I would collect more when there was no control after the end of the world. There were many things I couldn't explain in detail, adhering to the principle that the more you say, the more mistakes you make. I said to each intermediary, it's a company purchase with a budget of 1 million yuan, quality assurance is required, and other things can be flexibly adjusted. The supplies need to be inspected and put into the designated warehouse within 3 days. Contact me after the things are finalized. I will pay the deposit, and I will pay the remaining balance and the agency fee after the supplies are put into storage. I didn't know if the intermediaries were trustworthy, but this was the fastest way to collect supplies that I could think of in the shortest time. Of course, I knew that buying so many things would arouse suspicion. I didn't plan to meet any of the intermediaries. After taking the supplies with the space, when the end of the world came and the internet was completely cut off, who would have the time to check? There were a lot of things to prepare. The construction team would be at home in the next few days. To avoid suspicion, I only placed orders online for some outdoor supplies such as ropes, backpacks, masks, and protective suits. I collected all the things in the apartment into the space and made an appointment with the intermediary to sell the 2 houses in my name first. The old villa still needed to be lived in for a long time. In my previous life, the old villa was very close to the safe base, in case that area was included in the safe base in the future. It would be a loss to sell it. I tidied myself up, took my ID card and the property certificate, and went to meet the intermediary. In order to get the money as soon as possible, I sold the 2 houses at 60% of the price. I only received 8 million yuan for the 2 houses, which was not much different from the price I had in mind. After getting the money, I also vaguely reminded the intermediary that the city might be sealed again in a few days, and it was better to stockpile more food. In addition, I specifically told them to take over the houses 6 days later, leaving Hazel's family homeless one day before the end of the world. 3. After getting the money, it was already 2 p.m. I was going to find a restaurant to eat something. What a coincidence. Opposite the road, Hazel was pulling Isaac's arm and acting coquettishly. The intermediary store was near the school. It was not surprising to run into either Isaac or Hazel, but it was really strange that they were together. I immediately took out my phone and took a few photos. These photos were definitely enough to let people recognize who these 2 people who were pulling and tugging at each other were. Isaac and I were classmates in the same class. Although Hazel was in the same grade as us, she was a student in the Department of Economics and Management. At that time, Isaac and I had just been dating for less than 3 months. It didn't matter why they were together. I just wanted them to experience the apocalypse where they would be worse off without me and the space. Looking at them, the murderous intent of hatred in my eyes was so strong that I wished I could turn it into a knife and stab it into their hearts. Isaac seemed to see me and panicked for a moment. He shook off Hazel's hand and walked directly towards me. Hazel slowly followed behind Isaac. Margot, why are you here? Where are you going? He was 185 meters tall. With delicate features and fair skin, Isaac looked like a tall, handsome, and sunny boy. Back then, the reason I got together with him was not because I was obsessed with his eye-catching face. I liked his family. He was an only child, and his parents were both high school teachers. His parents loved each other, and his family was harmonious and warm. I had met his parents when they came to visit him at school. The family atmosphere of his family was like a beam of light shining into my life that lacked fatherly love since I was a child. After meeting his parents, I almost didn't hesitate to agree to be his girlfriend. Unfortunately, it was all just an appearance. It wasn't the right time to take revenge yet, but I could at least get some interest. I closed my eyes, and the hatred in my eyes turned into anger. Looking at my angry eyes, Isaac thought I misunderstood him. Hazel and I were going to look for you together. Slap, a clear slapping sound rang out. I used all my strength, and Isaac's face was slapped to one side, and a red palm print quickly appeared. Sister, how could you hit brother Isaac? Hazel exclaimed. Isaac raised his head, and a trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes. I saw it clearly, but so what? A woman he liked but hadn't slept with yet. Isaac wouldn't tear his face at this moment. Slap, another slapping sound rang out, and this time it landed on Hazel's face. Why did you hit me? Hazel stared at me hatefully, and then seemed to think of something and quickly lowered her head and started crying softly. Isaac, we're breaking up. After saying that, I turned around and left. I didn't want to waste time with this bitch and the scumbag. Isaac quickly ran up and grabbed my hand. Margot, did you misunderstand me and Hazel? There's nothing between us. We just happened to meet. Hazel said she wanted to go to your house to find you together. Hazel also quickly came over and took my hand. She groped my hand and said, yeah, sister, you've misunderstood us. Don't be angry. Let's go to your house and explain to you. Okay, I shook off the 2 of them. Sister, who's your sister? You were so intimate with my boyfriend. Your family also occupied the inheritance my father received as compensation for the car accident. You ate the blood money and still want to be sisters with me. Sister, you've misunderstood. There's nothing between me and brother Isaac. My aunt asked us to live in the house. If you mind, we'll move out right away. Fine. Then call your dad immediately and tell them to get out. Hazel tried to hold me again and said anxiously, Sister, what's wrong with you? Slap. I slapped Hazel in the face again. Get lost. Hazel raised her hand as if she wanted to slap me back. Halfway through, she changed her action and touched her own face, crying pitifully, "Sister, we'll move right away. Can you lend me your ring for 2 days? I have a competition and I need this ring as a prop. Just for 2 days. No, 1 day is enough." I was highly vigilant. In my previous life, it was the same lousy reason. She panicked and came to tell me she had lost the ring just 2 days after borrowing it, but in this life, in order to get the ring, she endured my 2 slaps. She even deliberately came up and touched the place where I wore the ring. Had Hazel also been reborn? I looked at Hazel and sneered. "You want the ring? Sure, kneel down and beg me." Hazel looked at me in shock. Her face changed several times. She glanced at Isaac beside her and finally fell silent. Isaac didn't seem to want to pay attention to Hazel. He directly stepped up to me and looked at me, saying, "Margot, I didn't know you had such a relationship with Hazel. She came to me and said she wanted to come find you together. I really have no relationship with her, don't misunderstand." I felt nauseated by his appearance as a gentle, considerate, and good boyfriend. I didn't bother looking at him and turned around to walk to the side of the road and hailed a taxi to leave. Sitting in the car, I touched my hand. If Hazel had been reborn and she knew the secret of the space, I had to get rid of her as soon as possible. In my previous life, Isaac might have known that Hazel had a space, but Hazel might not have told him that the space was in the physical ring. This time, Hazel proposed to get the ring in front of Isaac. If she dared to tell Isaac the secret, with Isaac's intelligence, he would definitely quickly guess that the ring was the space. But Hazel didn't know that I also knew the secret of the space. In order to get the space, she would definitely come to me again, and to monopolize the space, she definitely wouldn't be willing to reveal the secret. In order not to let Hazel notice that I had also been reborn, I specifically only asked for a 2-day leave from school, adding the 2 days of the weekend. If she couldn't find me on the 5th day, she would be kicked out of the house on the 6th day. After thinking it through, I pretended to take out a tablet from my bag. Isaac's chat account was still logged in synchronously from their chat records. I could see that Hazel had been reborn at the same time as me. After being reborn, Hazel had a very clear plan. First, she expressed to Isaac that she was willing to have an affair with him behind my back and asked for 1 million yuan. She sold herself for 5 years. Then she came to me to get the space ring. With such a clever plan, how could I not let everyone see it? I directly took screenshots and sent all the photos I just took on the campus website, with the caption, "Shocking, should I report my boyfriend Isaac for soliciting prostitution? Is 1 million yuan for Hazel's prostitution fee expensive?" This would definitely generate a lot of discussion. Let them become famous. After getting out of the taxi, my first stop was the car dealership. As soon as I walked into the car dealership, a salesperson with a slicked back hairstyle came over. "Beauty, are you buying a car?" "No, I'm renting a car." The obsequious attitude of the salesperson disappeared immediately, and he said flatly, "What kind of car do you want to rent?" I raised my hand and pointed at the Hummer. "This one, I want to rent it for a week." After paying the deposit and the rent, I drove the car to a small roadside restaurant and had a quick stir-fry. I packed 3 boxes of steamed buns to eat on the way later. After eating, I got in the car and put the steamed buns into the space. Then I directly drove to rent a 1,000 square meter warehouse next to the large market. In addition to asking others to help stockpile supplies, I also had to stockpile a batch myself. Anyway, things could be stacked in the space. I had to spend all my money. I wouldn't know what I was missing if I didn't take a look at the large market. I visited several agricultural trade stores selling seeds and selected the store with the most complete variety to place an order. "I want all the seeds on your stall. Do you have 100 bags of each kind of seed?" 100 bags of each kind. "Are you sure?" "Sure." The boss looked at me suspiciously. He seemed to think that all kinds of people could be encountered in the agricultural trade store, so he didn't ask any more questions. He directly shouted to the backyard, "Dawei, there's business, come and move the goods." Then he happily came over and pulled me to sit down. "Little sister, sit down, you're lucky, we just stocked up a few days ago. We have a complete variety and quantity of seeds." After paying the money, I left the address of the warehouse for the boss and asked her to send the goods there. Then I went to the nearby fruit and vegetable market and bought a lot of potatoes, tomatoes, bok choy, bananas, cucumbers, honeydews. I stocked up about 500 snake skin bags of most of the fruits and vegetables. After finishing all this, 2 hours had passed. I took out the steamed buns I had put in the space and was pleasantly surprised to find that the buns were still steaming hot. The time and the space was still. I immediately called several restaurants that I usually liked and ordered 500 servings of each of my favorite dishes. I made an appointment for them to deliver the food to the warehouse at 10 p.m. and repeatedly confirmed with the merchants that the food should be hot. Then I went to order 500 servings of various rice, flour, cooking oil, and other commodities. I also ordered 100 servings of pork, beef, mutton, chicken, fish, salt, and various seasonings. I also contacted the water factory and ordered 10 tons of water, which was almost 500 barrels of household barreled water. All the things I ordered could be delivered to the warehouse today. Surely someone would notice the abnormality of the warehouse, but I didn't care. I would leave tomorrow anyway. I drove to every pharmacy in the city and bought the maximum amount I could. On the way, I also bought some baseball bats, watermelon knives, kitchen knives, crossbows, stun guns, entrenching shovels, and other weapons. One after another, I received calls from the intermediaries asking for the deposit. After paying the deposit and buying the medicine, it was already 11 p.m. When I returned to the warehouse, I had already asked the person guarding the warehouse to leave early. I took out the key from the mailbox beside the warehouse and opened the warehouse. Looking at the warehouse full of stacked supplies, I felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. After collecting all the supplies, I closed the warehouse door and casually threw the warehouse key on the car. I was ready to drive the Hummer back to Licheng. For less than 30 minutes after I left the city and got on the highway, several gunshots suddenly came from the front. Gunshots also rang out from the right side. I stepped on the brakes urgently, but I still couldn't avoid crashing into the large truck parked across the road in front of me. A hoarse and ear-piercing cry broke the silent night. It's a zombie. Before I could react, a zombie that jumped from nowhere hit the windshield of the Hummer with its head. Its grayish-white face was stuck on the glass, and it roared ferociously at me. In fear, I took out a fruit knife from the space and stabbed it straight into the zombie's head. Then I quickly took out a backpack from the space, opened the car door, and climbed out. More intensive gunshots rang out, and I quickly ran backward. A harsh screech of brakes sounded in front of me. I quickly ran closer and opened the door of the passenger seat and sat in. Retreat. Quickly, there are zombies ahead. Before I could finish speaking, the car had already restarted and quickly drove towards the national road beside us. I looked back through the rearview mirror. It was the army. The army was clearing the zombies. The zombies appeared much earlier than expected. In my previous life, I heard that the virus mutation was studied in a research laboratory deep in the mountains of U City near Sucheng. The virus mother body escaped, and anyone who was bitten would have the virus spread through body fluids, and normal people would quickly turn into zombies. Ordinary zombies also had the ability to spread the virus, and the visual, olfactory, auditory, and mobility abilities of ordinary zombies that had just been bitten were similar to those of normal humans, but these abilities would deteriorate as the time since being bitten increased. That is to say, other zombies would die out on their own over time. The only thing that really needed to be killed was the virus mother body. It was said that the ability of the virus mother body exceeded the human limit, and it was elusive. As long as the virus mother body was not completely eliminated, the zombies would never end. To kill a zombie, all you need to do is hit its heart or head. Looking at the zombies that were shot and fell behind us, I tightly pressed my hand on my wildly beating heart and took a deep breath. Then I turned to look at the man in the driver's seat. The orange streetlights flickered on and off. The light hit the man's clean eyebrows and eyes. His fair face had deep facial features. The short hair that was difficult for ordinary people to pull off suited him extremely well. He was wearing a white shirt, which made him unforgettable. Strange, this man was too calm in the face of zombies. I tried to talk to him. I'm Margot. Thank you just now. The man was silent for a while. His pitch-black pupils glanced at me indifferently, and his clean and deep voice sounded, Jacob, you're welcome. Wait a minute, why did this name sound so familiar? But I really couldn't remember where I had heard it. Are you going to Licheng? My car was damaged just now. If you're going to Licheng, can you give me a ride? I can pay for the fare. Yeah. Before I could talk to him for a few more words, more intensive gunshots rang out from behind. I looked back and saw 2 military trucks rushing towards us at high speed, listening to the roars of the zombies. It was obvious that this time it wasn't the army chasing the zombies, but the army being chased by the zombies. Jacob stepped on the gas pedal to the floor. The performance of the military truck was obviously better. Soon, one of the military trucks overtook our car. A soldier with a weak-colored complexion on the military truck stretched out his hand from the car window and motioned for us to drive into the gas station not far ahead. As soon as the car entered the station, everyone desperately ran towards the service supermarket behind the gas station. At that time, there were no other people in the gas station except the two gas station employees. As soon as we entered the supermarket, a young soldier got off the military truck and ran towards us. He spoke very quickly. "We're going to lure the zombies to the gas station and blow it up. You guys leave from the back quickly." They were going to blow up the gas station. Did they plan to die together with the zombies? "Give me a gun, I can use it." Jacob's expression was quite calm. The young soldier directly threw the gun in his hand to Jacob and quickly took out another one from his waist. In the face of zombies, what were contraband items? It was already good to be able to survive. Jacob took the gun and pulled me to run towards the back of the supermarket. Two gas station employees and two soldiers also ran with us. At this time, another military truck crashed into the supermarket door. I turned around and saw a large group of zombies swarming behind the military truck. Among them was a male zombie with his upper body bare. His whole body was blue. He jumped onto the military truck in one step. Several soldiers got off the military truck and rushed into the supermarket. Two of the soldiers only had time to get off the military truck before they were knocked down and submerged by the swarming zombies. Jacob shot at the head of the blue zombie and hit it right in the eye. A shrill scream sounded. Jacob quickly pulled me over the back wall of the supermarket and ran towards the small river not far behind. Intensive gunshots rang out, boom, with a loud noise. The gas station exploded. The shock wave from the explosion slapped us hard into the river. Boom, boom, boom. The gas station exploded for the second time. I felt someone holding me tightly in the river. The next moment, a burning pain came from my head and I lost consciousness. 5. In a daze, I saw the dilapidated Inuan villa area in Licheng. In my villa, there were only my sallow-faced uncle and my cousin. Where was my mother? I searched every room in the villa but couldn't find my mother. My uncle mumbled that my mother and my aunt went out to find food one day and never came back. I stared into my uncle's eyes and questioned him. "Since there's no food, how did the two of you survive?" The next second, in front of my eyes were the dazzling white bones behind the villa. I broke out in a cold sweat all over my body and suddenly opened my eyes. I saw a completely unfamiliar bedroom. There was a slight pain in my hand. I turned my head and saw Jacob taking out the needle of the 4 drip for me. "You're awake. Do you want to drink some water?" Jacob picked up the water beside him and handed it to me. "Thank you." I took the water and took 2 sips. I raised my hand and rubbed my still sore head. There were 2 knocks on the door. A woman came in with a bowl of porridge. "The little girl is awake. It seems that the medicine your friend risked his life to find last night is very effective." The woman was wearing a gas station employee uniform. She looked about 30 years old. She was very thin and introduced herself as Phoebe. She came to deliver the porridge to me and left after that. "Risked his life. Looking for medicine." I was slightly stunned and looked at Jacob. "Thank you for saving me." What did she mean by risked his life and looking for medicine? We had just met, and I didn't expect Jacob to take risks for a stranger like me. It wasn't very dangerous. I'm a doctor. There happened to be a clinic nearby. "You should have hurt your head yesterday. Seeing that you were in pain even when you were unconscious, I went to get you some painkillers like Rotundine. The 4 drip I gave you just now was nutrient solution. In the 2 years of the apocalypse before my rebirth, I had never met such a kind person." I softly said, "If there's anything I can help with in the future, you can make a request." After hearing this, Jacob smiled and leaned back in the chair relaxedly. "Don't you remember who I am at all?" I was stunned. "Do we know each other?" I thought carefully. The memories of the 2 years of the apocalypse before my rebirth were too deep. There was no such person in my other memories either. Jacob saw that I really couldn't remember and took the initiative to say, "When we first met as children, you were crying and hugging me. I didn't expect you to be joking." Seeing that I didn't believe it, Jacob spoke again. "My grandfather also lives in the Inuan villa area. We were neighbors when we were children. When you were in the 3rd grade of primary school, I was in the 6th grade. At that time, I often took you to school. It's just that after I graduated from primary school, I followed my parents to study in Pingcheng, the capital city. Later, I rarely came back. Don't you remember me or you can't recognize me?" I recognized you at a glance. I thought about it carefully, but I couldn't remember anything. I only vaguely felt that the name Jacob was familiar, but I still tried to call out, "Brother Jacob." Jacob roughly told me what happened after I passed out. After the explosion stopped, when we came out of the river, we had been washed away from the gas station for a certain distance. The 6 of us all had some scratches more or less, but I was the only one who passed out because I was hit by a panel. The gas station and its surroundings had been leveled. The flames were blinding, but before we could feel sad for the soldiers, we saw that the people who were awakened by the explosion and came out to check the situation all turned into zombies one by one. The explosion killed all the other zombies at the gas station at that time, but the virus mother body didn't die. After escaping from the explosion, it went crazy and took out its anger on the nearby residents. According to the 2 soldiers who escaped with us, the research direction of the U City Research Institute at that time was human body transformation. The virus mother body might have extremely strong recovery ability. These 2 soldiers were communication soldiers in the army. One of them was the soldier with a weak-colored complexion who gestured to us on the national road. His name was Jason, and the other soldier who was a little taller was named Joseph. These 2 were the only ones who evacuated in advance among the soldiers. We never expected that the zombies couldn't be solved at all. We were still near the gas station. At that time, the zombies spread too fast, and we didn't have time to go outside. We could only knock on the doors of the nearby residents, but with the changes, almost no one was willing to open the door for us. If it wasn't for Grandpa Jonathan's kindness, all of us would have died outside. We were currently living in Grandpa Jonathan's house, a simple 2-bedroom and 1 living room apartment. The child's parents were working outside. Currently, only 64-year-old Grandpa Jonathan and his 7-year-old grandson were at home. After listening to Jacob, I finished the porridge in my hand. After putting down the bowl, I gently opened a corner of the curtain. It was already slightly dawn, and sensitive zombies were wandering in all directions on the road. I couldn't speak for a long time. Just now, Phoebe said that Jacob risked his life to go out and find medicine for me. How could it be described simply by the word risk? Fortunately, this wasn't the city center, and there wasn't a dense group of zombies that couldn't be seen the end of. I put down the curtain and looked at Jacob and said softly, "Brother Jacob, thank you for being willing to take risks for me. When I went to find medicine, it wasn't as dangerous as it is now. You don't need to keep thanking me." I suddenly remembered that the zombies broke out ahead of time. Would there be danger at home now? "Brother Jacob, is my bag still there? I want to call my mother." Jacob handed me the backpack and said, "The signal is cut off. You can't get through on the phone. I have to leave here and go home." "Brother Jacob, what are your plans next?" "I'm going to the Inuan in Licheng. I was originally going back to Licheng to celebrate my grandfather's birthday." "Then let's get ready and leave." Jacob nodded and went out to inform the others. I quickly packed up, put on my bag, and went out. Everyone was already ready. The 2 soldiers, Jason and Joseph, were going to the military base in Licheng. The 2 gas station employees, Phoebe and James, were going home. It was a 20-minute journey from here, and Jacob and I were also going to Licheng. We decided to go out together to find a car. After finding a car, the gas station employees would go home, and we would go to Licheng with the soldiers. Before going out, I secretly put down 4 bags of rice and 2 boxes of water in the kitchen. It was enough for Grandpa Jonathan and his grandson to live for a few months, and I told Grandpa Jonathan, "Grandpa Jonathan, there are zombies that bite people all over the street. Not everyone is trustworthy. To protect your grandson, don't open the door to anyone easily in the future." We were lucky to be saved, but if it weren't for my space, Grandpa Jonathan and his grandson would have been dragged down by our group because of the food. 6. We first went to a hardware store not far away to get weapons. Jacob, the 2 soldiers, and I all chose kitchen knives. James and Phoebe didn't dare to take knives and both chose steel pikes to avoid all the zombies surrounding us. No one dared to use a gun. The 2 soldiers walked in the front with knives. Jacob and James walked on the left and right sides respectively, and Phoebe and I walked in the middle. Although the zombies were agile, fortunately, we were near the national road. There weren't many people, and there weren't many zombies either. As long as we overcame our fear of the zombies, it wasn't that difficult to kill them. The 6 of us quickly moved towards the place where there were cars. Suddenly, Jacob turned around without warning. Holding a kitchen knife in his hand, he slashed fiercely behind me. Along with the kitchen knife cutting into the flesh was a low growl that wasn't human. Hoo hoo hoo. I quickly swung the kitchen knife behind me. The kitchen knife knocked the zombie's head aside. When Phoebe reacted and looked behind her, a pale face full of blood was right next to her face. Phoebe let out a sudden scream. I took back the kitchen knife and quickly covered her mouth. But it was too late. All the zombies rushed towards us. The 6 of us quickly ran in the direction Where there were fewer zombies, there was a long line of zombies following behind. The zombies that surrounded us in the front fell one by one under the attack of the two soldiers and Jacob. I followed behind the three of them and killed the zombies that they didn't take care of. The zombies behind were about to catch up. Phoebe screamed again when she saw the zombies pouncing in front of her, and James had hidden between the soldiers and Phoebe. I quickly pulled Phoebe aside and took care of the rear. In order to kill with one strike, I slashed at the zombies' necks every time. The zombies' heads were their weak points, and so were their necks. Although each strike was accurate, unfortunately, as time went by, strength was my weakness, and the knife was even chipped. I expressionlessly waved the chipped kitchen knife in my hand. I wasn't willing to die here after being reborn once. At this time, several gunshots came from behind. Immediately after, more intensive gunshots rang out. The zombies were stimulated by the gunshots and moved even faster. Suddenly, a hand forcefully pulled me to the left. It blocked the zombie. Looking at the zombie pouncing in front of me, I used all my strength to cut off the zombie's neck and continued to slash beside me along with the force. Ah! A shrill scream sounded. James' arm fell to the ground, and blood spilled all over my clothes and his. The zombies pounced even more excitedly. I quickly stepped back, and James had been knocked down and submerged by the zombies. Just because I saved Phoebe and there was no human shield between him and the zombies, he used me to block the zombies. What a useless man. Did he think women were weak and could be bullied? I was pushed into the zombie horde once in my previous life. How could I not be on guard this time? The army is coming. Phoebe seemed not to see the dead James and looked towards the direction of the army with surprise. Jacob glanced in my direction. Seeing that I was okay, he didn't say anything. The group of us accelerated the speed of clearing the zombies. But I saw James, who had just been knocked down by the zombies. Among the zombies, he was covered in blood, and his grayish-white eyes that had obviously turned into a zombie stared at me. I was shocked. Before I could react, I saw James pouncing towards me faster than the other zombies. Obviously, Phoebe was closer to James. I quickly took out a new kitchen knife from the space and slashed at James' neck, and continued to run backwards. I turned my head and saw that James had completely fallen. 7. A dozen military trucks could be seen ahead. Soldiers in green camouflage uniforms were standing on the roof, shooting at the zombies in an orderly manner. Strangely, every shot didn't hit the zombies' heads, and no blood flowed out. The zombies lay quietly on the ground, and the zombies in the middle of the road were even moved to the side of the road by the soldiers. This scene was really strange. The two soldiers should have been called to be questioned. Jacob, Phoebe, and I were taken to a military green truck heading out of the city. Through the car window, it was obvious that this section of the national road had been blocked off. It was not easy to get off the truck. We were taken to a shed for a full-body inspection and questioning. After being quarantined for 24 hours, we signed a national confidentiality agreement and were released. Until now, I finally understood why I thought the end of the world would come in a week, but I encountered zombies so early. It turned out that the country had already made the greatest efforts, and from shooting to besieging, there were some secrets about these zombies. The journey on the road had been delayed for 2 days. The time left for me was not much. Today was also the time to inspect the supplies. After being released from quarantine, I told Jacob about my worries about the zombies and prepared to buy more supplies. We separated and took different actions. I rented a car again and drove directly to the warehouse I rented before. I didn't meet the intermediaries. The whole transaction was done online. After the last batch of supplies was put into storage, I handed over the remaining payment and the warehouse password to the intermediaries online, and this business was considered completed. After everyone evacuated, I drove around the warehouse to observe it. Then I entered the warehouse and used the space to collect the supplies. After collecting the supplies, I always felt that there was a burning gaze staring at me. From behind, I looked back, but there was nothing. Was I exposed? I quickly left the warehouse and continued to drive around the warehouse to observe. Still, I didn't find anything. I couldn't be sure if there was someone there or if it was just an illusion. I couldn't care so much. I had to go home to see my mother first. When I returned to the community, it was already evening. There was a large truck unloading goods in front of Jacob's house next door. When Jacob saw me passing by, he came over and exchanged contact information with me. The construction of my house for 3 days had also ended. I thought my mother had already paid the balance to the construction team. I opened the door with the key and saw my mother wearing an apron and cutting vegetables in the kitchen. The warm light shone on her, and she was still the same as in my memory. My mother heard the sound and turned around and walked towards me. Ching Ching, you're back. I thought that since you didn't come back yesterday, you should be home today, we can have dinner soon. Listening to my mother's chattering voice, this rebirth finally felt real. When my mother came over, I hugged her and couldn't help but have red eyes. At no time have I been more fortunate than at this moment that I have a space full of supplies. The end of the world will still come, but I can rewrite my and my mother's destiny. After tidying up and having dinner, I pulled my mother to sit down. Mom, I want to tell you something, although it's absurd, you must believe me. I told her everything that happened in my previous life without hiding anything. At first, my mother thought I had a big dream and hugged me to comfort me. It was not until I showed my mother the ability of the space. The national road to Licheng is already in chaos. In 4 days, the virus will break out completely. Mom, you have to believe me, my uncle and his family really killed us. I don't ask you to take revenge, I just need you to ignore them. Listening to my choked voice, my mother's throat tightened. Finally, she said with difficulty, Ching Ching, Mom believes you. No matter what happens in the future, Mom will stand by your side. 8. In the afternoon of September 26, 2030, Hazel's family was finally driven out. Hazel didn't have much money in her hand. Her parents wouldn't believe the so-called doomsday story either. All Hazel could do was try to stockpile food at home, but no matter how much food she stocked, without a house, these foods would only become their death knell. Hazel's family appeared in front of my door with big and small bags of luggage and a pile of food that was obviously stocked by Hazel when she went home. They banged on the door. Just listening to the sound was enough to show how angry they were. I picked up a baseball bat and opened the door and hit Julian's hand that was knocking on the door. Julian was shocked and quickly stepped aside to avoid it. The baseball bat narrowly passed by his hand, but before he could be lucky, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the baseball bat hitting towards his head. Julian dodged behind his son Kevin in a hurry. Murder, you're worse than a beast. You even want to kill your own uncle. The old ones are despicable, and the young ones are also despicable. On the 6th of last month, I saw with my own eyes that you had an affair with another woman in Binley Hotel. A few days ago, I also saw with my own eyes that Hazel was flirting with my boyfriend, like the upper beam, so the lower beam. Get away from here, or I'll make you know what it's like to be worse than dead. When I mentioned Binley Hotel, my uncle was obviously guilty, but he was immediately replaced by anger. He raised his hand to snatch the baseball bat from me. I turned around and took out a kitchen knife from behind, out of the corner of my eye. I saw my aunt's expression changing from confusion to shock and then her eyes turning red. It seemed that she thought of something. I retreated behind the door and closed the door forcefully. I got this news from Hazel in my previous life when she was pretending to be pitiful and revealing it to me. The whole family knew about it, but my aunt didn't. But from my standpoint, my aunt, who was the most active in occupying my family's property and thought that since there were only my mother and me left in my family, my cousin should inherit the family property, wasn't worthy of pity. It didn't matter whether my aunt believed it or not. What was important was to plant the seeds of doubt and let their family fall apart from within. The sound of their argument came from outside the door. Soon, they knocked on the door again. I have something very important to tell you. I have something that can save lives. Hazel's anxious voice sounded outside the door. I directly hung a loudspeaker on the door. My uncle Julian occupied the family property. Julian had an affair in X hotel behind his wife's back on X month X day. My cousin Hazel seduced my boyfriend, and they even dared to come to my door to rob the ancestral house. As soon as I hung up the loudspeaker, my uncle slapped Hazel. Why did you seduce her boyfriend? If it wasn't for you, would she have sold the house? Before Hazel could defend herself, Jacob came with the property management to drive them away and directly said that he had called the police, forced by the property management's expulsion and the mockery of the onlookers in the villa area. Hazel's family dragged their big and small bags and a lot of food, and went to a hotel outside the villa area. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, I carried a basin of chicken cooked by my mother from home and sent it to Jacob's house to express my gratitude. That night, Hazel sent me a verification message. I called Isaac over. We can explain to you. Can we meet? That's fine. I directly passed her friend verification and said, regarding the matter between me and Isaac, when is it your turn to call him? Going crazy first. The more unreasonable it is, the more normal it is. It's really just a misunderstanding. You can hit me and scold me. I just want to clear up the misunderstanding, really. Tie Isaac up and let me vent my anger. Okay, as long as you are willing to lend me the ring, sister. After 12 o'clock in the morning, I went to the hotel. Isaac came from school this afternoon and lived in the room next to Hazel's family, knowing that it was the end of the world. Hazel was quite generous and directly booked a top-floor suite in the hotel as soon as I knocked on the door. Isaac opened the door. When he saw it was me, he immediately came up and tried to hug me. I dodged into the room. Hazel was sitting at the table and warmly greeted me. "Sister, you're finally here. You must be thirsty. Have a glass of water first." I looked at Hazel coldly. "Didn't you say you would tie him up and let me vent my anger? What, can't you do it?" They looked at each other. Isaac closed the door and came up to hug me again. With my hands behind my back, I took out a stun gun from the space and stunned Isaac directly. Hazel looked at me with wide eyes. The space. Before she could say anything else, I kicked her to the ground. I used all my strength for this kick. Hazel was almost knocked unconscious. After she calmed down, Hazel looked at the ceiling with empty eyes and murmured, "Why, since I was reborn, why do you have to come and block me? You were reborn. But is this all the ability you have?" Hazel's face turned pale with anger. "What do you know? I'm not like you. I have no money, so I can only borrow from Isaac. After you sent the chat records to the school network, Isaac didn't want to lend me money anymore. I confessed to him that the end of the world was coming and asked him to stockpile food, but he didn't believe me at all. He was willing to come here because he couldn't stand the gossip and wanted to sleep with you and then threaten you to clarify the matter on the school network. Really? Then we'll settle the old and new grudges together this time." I took out the potion made from Dieffenbachia and pinched Hazel's neck to feed it to her in her terrified eyes. After poisoning her throat to make her dumb, I cut her tendons in her hands. Hazel curled up in pain. Her throat was hoarse and she couldn't make a sound. Soon, she fainted from the pain. The grudges from the previous life ended here. As for the grudges in this life, I picked up the water that Hazel prepared for me on the table and fed it to her. I kicked Isaac lying on the ground, made a 10 cm long wound on each of his calves with a small knife, tied him up, and hung him up to the second floor. The blood flowing out of the wound dripped to the ground. When he woke up, there would be a surprise waiting for him. I took out the surveillance cameras and installed them in the room and the corridor. Then I climbed from the outer wall of the hotel to my uncle's room next door, installed a surveillance camera above the window, and released a drone to monitor at all times. After doing all this, I went home. At 2 o'clock in the morning on September 27, 2030, in the surveillance, Hazel woke up. Her face was flushed. She got up with difficulty from the ground, opened the door with her body, and kicked the door of the next room. Seeing her embarrassed appearance, Hazel's parents immediately called 110 and 120, but no one answered. Finally, they called 2 hotel staff and a security guard to go to the hospital together. However, the smell of blood on Isaac had already attracted some zombies. Under the cover of the night, the zombies had come downstairs of the hotel. Yes, the national end of the world came again. 3 hours ago, the zombies had spread rapidly in all directions with the national road as the center. Hazel was helped into the car. In a daze, she saw 5 or 6 people lying on the ground gnawing. 2 of them found them and were about to stand up. Hazel woke up instantly and struggled to get out of the car and rushed into the hotel. Julian and Hazel's mother were wondering when a sharp scream suddenly burst into their ears. The 2 hotel staff were being gnawed by the zombies, and the other zombies were running towards Julian and Hazel's mother. Julian pushed Hazel's mother towards the zombies and fled back to the hotel with the security guard. 6 people went down, and 3 people came back, and it was highly likely that the hotel lobby couldn't hold out. Back on the top floor of the hotel, Julian and the security guard were. Hazel couldn't hold on any longer because the medicine took effect. But no one cared whether she was alive or dead at the moment. With her last bit of strength, Hazel forced herself on the hotel security uncle. Maybe he was frightened by the zombies. 2 minutes later, the security uncle turned over and vented on Hazel's body repeatedly. At 5 o'clock in the morning on September 27, a scream pierced the sky. As soon as Isaac opened his eyes, he saw that he was hanging in the air. When he looked down, he found that more than 20 zombies were densely gathered at his feet, stretching their hands towards him and making a jijia sound. One of the zombies climbed up the zombie pile, and its outstretched hand touched Isaac's shoes. This terrifying scene made Isaac pee his pants in fright, and he could only shout for help desperately. The hotel guests opened their windows one after another, looking at the people turning into unconscious zombies. Most of them were so stiff and trembling that they couldn't move. After a while, someone finally remembered to save Isaac. Finally, the security uncle who lived in Isaac's room pulled him up. With the arrival of the day, there were more people who didn't know the situation and kind-hearted people going out, and there were more and more zombies on the road, because Jacob controlled all the entrances and exits in advance. The villa area temporarily became the safest place at present. 5 days after the zombies spread, the food in the hotel was almost consumed. At the moment, most people remembered Hazel's family who checked into the hotel with a large amount of food. The hotel sent people to ask Julian to share the food. Without saying a word, Julian closed the door and, together with his son, piled all the sofas behind the door to prevent them from directly swiping the card to enter the room. However, in less than an hour, all the food was looted. The supplies that Hazel stockpiled never belonged to her from the beginning to the end. 10 days after the zombies spread, people with little stock began to take the risk of going out to find food. Hazel exchanged her body for food, and Isaac had to go out with his injured leg. Isaac ran behind the crowd. Whenever he couldn't run anymore, a drone would fly above his head and play the music. Good luck comes after everyone found that the drone chased above Isaac's head twice in a row. No one was willing to team up with Isaac. 15 days after the zombies spread, Hazel couldn't exchange her body for food anymore, and Isaac didn't dare to go out to find food alone. The two of them had been hungry for several days, and Julian and Kevin's situation wasn't much better. If this went on, they were likely to starve to death. After the few of them discussed it, they found several big brothers with the highest combat power in the hotel. Why should we be scared and have no food, while those people in the villa area are living well? They have stocked up some food in each household. I know one of the households. There are few people in the family and they have a lot of food. I can lead the way. Looking at Julian, who was spitting everywhere, and Hazel and Kevin, who were full of resentment in the surveillance, I just thought it was ridiculous. After I found Jacob and told him their plan, Jacob immediately organized a group of residents in the villa area to guard the gate. At noon that day, a group of people gathered in the hotel and prepared to break through the gate of the villa area. Unfortunately, no one was willing to be the decoy to lure away the zombies. They could only throw the mobile phone playing music a little farther away to briefly lure the zombies away. When this group of people rushed towards the gate of the villa area, just as Jacob took out his gun, unexpectedly, the gate of the villa area opened automatically. Jacob rushed to the security room, pushed away the person who was pressing the gate switch button, and closed the gate again. We are all compatriots. We should save one if we can, Jacob sneered, quickly left the security room, and told all the residents at the gate to go home immediately. Before they walked far, some people in the hotel rushed into the villa area through the gap when the gate was open. Hazel and Isaac were slower than others because of their injuries. The zombies were only 2 steps away from them, and the gate was about to close. When they were desperate, the gate opened slowly again, but the zombie's hand had touched Isaac's back. Isaac broke out in a cold sweat instantly. While speeding up, he pushed Hazel towards the zombie pile behind him. Hazel's body was grabbed by countless hands and bitten by blood-red teeth. Hazel looked at Isaac with scarlet eyes until she was submerged by the zombie pile. However, not long after, Hazel rushed out of the zombie pile and rushed into the villa area before the gate was closed again. The people who just rushed into the villa area and sat on the ground to rest thought they were safe, but one after another, they turned into zombies. The person who opened the gate in the security room was no exception. When he was bitten by the zombies and in despair, he opened the gate of the villa area again out of resentment. False saints were generous with others' things, and they showed their true devilish nature when their own interests were touched. 10. Hi, Hazel. Hazel, who was about to pounce on Isaac, immediately gave up on Isaac and chased after me when she heard my voice. I quickly returned to the enclosure and closed the gate. Hazel hit the gate with her head. I opened the visual intercom doorbell and said, Hazel, you still have consciousness, right? Before on the national road, I guessed that being zombified didn't mean real death. Everyone was just controlled by the virus. As long as there was a vaccine, all the zombies could turn back into normal people. I just tested it on you. I didn't expect that you hated me so much that you gave up Isaac, who was about to be in your hands, and chased after me, verifying my guess. For me, you should be happy to get this news, but think about the previous life. Why did the zombies' abilities degenerate over time until they completely fell? Zombified people are still human after all. Without eating or drinking, their physical functions degenerate, and they will also die. I'm waiting to witness that day belonging to you. The violent and rapid sound of hitting the door sounded again. In a state of extreme anger, it seemed that the zombies could obtain temporary control of their bodies from the virus. James was like that, and so was Hazel. This was why the zombies weren't shot on the national road. I returned to the second floor, took out the bow and arrow, aimed at Isaac, who was knocking on the door for help everywhere, and shot an arrow through his leg. Isaac screamed and fell down. The scream attracted Hazel. Isaac dragged his injured leg and crawled backward. The flowing blood stimulated Hazel to move faster and faster until she pounced on Isaac and accurately bit his throat. 1 month after the zombies spread, the residents in the community who had stockpiled food were basically at the moment of running out of food. Jacob threw a ball of paper wrapped with hard candy to me from the balcony on the second floor. It said, "Food is running out, and human nature is disappearing. Do you want to team up? Teaming up is better than fighting alone. Can I move here with my grandfather and bring our own food? Your house has better protective measures than mine." I looked directly at Jacob. "I promised you that you could make a request before. I have no problem with it, but I need to discuss it with my mother." "Okay." Waiting for your reply, I discussed it with my mother. We were all familiar neighbors, and my mother was very willing to let them move in, but she was worried that my space would be exposed. "We'll move to the third floor, and let Jacob and his grandfather live on the second floor. We'll clearly define the living areas and not interfere with each other in daily life, just in case. I'll take out 1/3 of the supplies and put them in the bedroom and the kitchen." My mother also thought it was feasible. After using the drone to attract away the zombies lingering at the door of the villa, Jacob sent his grandfather over and settled him down. Then he moved a lot of daily necessities and food over one after another. I knew that Jacob had stocked up a lot of food, but they must be short of vegetables and fruits. Therefore, my mother and I dried some vegetables and made them into cooked food, and occasionally sent them to them. 2 days after Jacob moved in, his worry came true. As the food became less and less, many people were flickered by Julian and Kevin and believed that my family had a large amount of food. At night, someone climbed over the wall and was shocked with a trembling voice. Someone pried the lock, but instead triggered the electronic alarm, attracting a large number of zombies. Exhausted, several people died before we could take action. Therefore, they were more convinced that we were hiding a large amount of food, and more people joined them, reaching up to more than 50 people at one time. If it didn't work once, they would try a second or third time. They even found a large iron gate from somewhere and blocked the intersection, blocking all the ordinary zombies, just to deal with us intently. Bang, bang, bang. When the gate was almost broken open, Jacob used a pistol. The deafening gunshots made more and more zombies gather around. Just as Julian and Kevin were going to retreat temporarily with this group of people, a zombie with its upper body bare and its body blue jumped down and plunged into the crowd to bite. Even the sound of biting the skin and flesh could be heard, and the miserable howls were endless. The virus mother body. Jacob's face turned a little pale, but his tone was firm. "We must kill it." I quickly used the crossbow arrow to shoot at the virus mother body, and Jacob also quickly fired a shot. With a loud bang, the window glass on the second floor shattered. The virus mother body jumped and pounced on Jacob like lightning. Without time to think, I threw out the Hummer in the space and directly smashed it at the virus mother body. With a bang, the virus mother body and the car fell into the yard together. After rolling on the ground twice, the virus mother body bounced up again. This time, it pounced on me. I threw out a motorcycle from the space, but the virus mother body quickly dodged sideways. I was knocked down to the ground. Before fainting, I vaguely saw the bloody teeth of the virus mother body. 3 months after the zombies spread, when I woke up again, 2 months had passed. Jacob said that he had dealt with the virus mother body. As for me, I was very lucky. The virus mother body didn't bite through my skin. The fainting should be related to the concussion. My mother and grandfather were still alive, and the supplies I had left and the supplies he had stored were still enough, but the others in the community were in a much worse situation. Their supplies were all used up. They killed each other, and they had even resorted to cannibalism. Julian and Kevin had already been. I lowered my eyes and didn't say anything. Everyone had paid the due price for the evil they had done. He didn't ask about the space, and I didn't explain further. The glass on the second floor had been broken, so I asked Jacob and my grandfather to move to the third floor and live with us. It seemed that there were only the 4 of us normal humans left in this place, and it seemed meaningless to take any more precautions. We ate together, and I often took out some vegetables and fruits to supplement the essential vitamins for everyone. Jacob and I also occasionally went out to collect supplies and see if a safe base could be established. 1 year after the zombies spread, the safe base in Licheng was established. I donated the seeds I had collected before the end of the world and got The opportunity to move in, I was also allocated a nice two-story small building. In this year, our two families supported each other and got along very well, so we planned to continue living together. Jacob became a doctor in the base, and I became the captain of the guard team with my martial arts skills. 3 years after the zombies spread, since the virus vaccine hadn't been developed for a long time, and the number of zombies was constantly increasing and some were dying, the leadership finally decided to clear all the zombies. No one knew that their relatives and friends were still alive after being bitten, and no one knew that their relatives and friends would die with their consciousness clear. The end of the world was finally coming to an end. The boss is still alive. The clearance failed. The mechanical electronic voice sounded. I slowly opened my eyes. The orange streetlights flickered on and off. When I turned my head, there was a man in a white shirt in the driver's seat, whose temperament was unforgettable. I quickly took out a fruit knife from the space and pounced on the driver's seat, stabbing his heart fiercely. Bang! In the sudden constriction of his pupils, the car crashed into the roadside guardrail. I didn't dare to let go of the knife, afraid that I would be counter-killed accidentally. Why don't you play with me a little longer? It's only been 7 times. Jacob, you lunatic. September 20th, 2030, I was reborn, machine. A fire burned in my eyes. Is it fun to watch others struggle to survive? The creator of the virus. Before he could answer, I pulled out the fruit knife and stabbed at his heart again. With a muffled groan, Jacob finally stopped breathing completely. Jacob was never a doctor. He was a virology researcher and the creator of the virus mother body who held the virus vaccine. And I had crossed over into a virus kingdom game. The first life was the plot setting, and every life after that was revenge after my self-awareness awakened. After Jacob discovered that I was a time traveler with a space, Jacob had been observing and teasing me from the side. As long as he didn't die, I would be trapped in the cycle forever. The boss is dead. The clearance was successful. The mechanical electronic voice sounded again. When I opened my eyes, I was in the familiar bedroom of the apartment. Story 2, in the scorching apocalypse of Blue Star, an alien system descended. My younger sister snatched the more civilized all-female planet, leaving me the barbaric all-male world, but the all-female planet was filled with aloof beast women beauties. My mediocre sister ended up with menial labor and got exiled across the stars for a major work blunder. Meanwhile, my all-male planet was full of gentle beast men hunks who not only pampered me like royalty but crowned me as the planet's sole matriarch. As my sister perished tragically from cosmic radiation, I happened to be escorted by handsome orc warriors to the galactic core for my imperial coronation in this reincarnated life. My ecstatic sister chose the all-male planetary system, anticipating my exile and death on the all-female world. Little did she know, the male orcs of that world were born monsters, their courtship of females merely a prelude to final moments of sadistic slaughter. I'm picking the all-male system. Buy me more frilly dresses, designer bags, shoes, and makeup. This time it's my turn to be the pampered princess. The shrill voice of my sister Vianne rang in my ears, and I knew she had been reborn. 2. Now that Blue Star has descended into a scorching apocalypse and become uninhabitable, my sister and I unexpectedly obtained 2 alien orc systems, 1 male and 1 female. My parents sighed beside us. We've heard the all-male planet is full of savage male orcs, uncivilized, brutal creatures. It's too dangerous for a young girl like you. Let your older sister go instead. The all-female planet has an advanced civilization. She'll live like royalty there. I was used to my parents' favoritism, but a heavy wave of disappointment still washed over me. In our past life, with our parents' help, my younger sister obtained access to the advanced all-female star system. To everyone's surprise, my sister completely rejected our parents' kindness this time. Rolling her eyes dramatically, she retorted, "Those are just rumors. The male orcs on all-male planet are all real gentlemen. They protect delicate females like us. A clueless bookworm like my sister belongs with those man-hating spinsters." On the all-female planet, unable to change her mind, our parents reluctantly agreed while I secretly smirked on the sidelines. 1. Having died too young in our previous life, my sister only witnessed my apparent glory. She never knew the male orc's true intention. After pampering me like a princess, their so-called escort mission to crown me empress at the cosmic center was actually my execution in disguise. After awakening our respective systems, my sister and I were teleported to the alien planets we'd chosen. Before even landing, my sister couldn't wait to activate her neural interface and share real-time visuals with me. "Big sis, I'm so excited about our new life. You won't freak out if I turn on the feed, right?" I shook my head. I was just as thrilled. After my sister arrived on the all-male planet, the land was already crowded with welcoming male beast men. I recognized all four of those broad-shouldered, narrow-hipped, drop-dead gorgeous beast men leading the welcome. There was the noble lion King Davian, the testosterone-fueled wolf Colonel Marcus, the refined crane physician Hale, and the sunny panther cub Mordecai. They stood in formation, paying respects to my sister with chivalrous salutes. Welcome back to All-Star, our princess. Vianne wiped her lips, her eyes sparkling as she froze in place. King Davian the golden lion approached gently, asking, "Noble Princess Vianne, who would you like to escort you back to your chamber?" The princess dropped all pretense of restraint. All of them, of course. My younger sister was already lounging on the plush, air-conditioned princess bed, attended by her orc manservants. Meanwhile, I was still dragging my heavy luggage around, searching for the reception desk of the all-female planet. My sister couldn't help but laugh mockingly. "Big sis, this is just the appetizer. Wait till you meet those old hags. That's when your real suffering begins." In my past life, I'd activated neural link sharing out of concern for her, so I'd naturally witnessed her arrival on the all-female planet before. Back home, my sister was used to being pampered by our parents and taking my belongings without asking, so when we arrived on the alien planet, she still acted like the most privileged guest, ignoring my warnings, barging into an unoccupied house, helping herself to whatever she fancied. When confronted by the rightful owner, she refused to apologize, claiming nothing in that hovel was worth her attention anyway. Naturally, this earned her universal contempt from the all-female inhabitants assigned to work at a nutrient synthesis plant. My sister couldn't handle the labor, convinced the beast women were jealous of her beauty and tormenting her. She deliberately slacked off until factory equipment got damaged from idling. They locked her in the gatehouse to reflect on her actions. Later, when she saw how well I was living on the all-male planet, she took it as gloating. In a rage, she severed our neural link connection. Whatever happened after that, I'll never know. Suddenly someone called out my name. "Sky." I looked up to see a tiger beast folk in military uniform standing right before me, strikingly beautiful, poised with heroic bearing, resembling a glamorous ethnic minority actress rather than the witch my sister had described. I hastily raised my hand and rushed over, dragging my heavy luggage behind me. The younger sister couldn't help but laugh. "Sis, I've never seen someone so eager to suffer. That tigress aura is downright vicious. Enjoy your misery. My merman mate just invited me to soak in the mountaintop hot springs. Not that you'd ever get to see such luxury." With that, she terminated the holocall, ignoring my sister's remarks. I stood before the Tiger General and introduced myself politely. "Hello, I'm Sky." The Tiger General lifted her chin imperiously. "I am Aura, commander of the all-female planet's military base. You're the first extraterrestrial to visit our world. During this beastkin rutting season, Her Majesty cannot receive you. As I've taken suppressants, I'll give you a planetary tour first." Mating season. In my past life on the all-male planet, I'd heard this term before. The male beast men explained that without females, they'd suffer agonizing symptoms, and my presence could alleviate their pain. I couldn't help voicing the same question I'd had in my previous life. Why are there no male creatures on the all-female planet? A glint of hatred flashed in Aura's eyes. Male beast men have defective genes. Sharing space with them causes mutual psychological torment, which is why we segregated into all-male and all-female planets. Riding a hover car with Aura, I toured the military base, residential zones, and nutrient synthesis facilities of the all-female planet at lightning speed. This truly lives up to being one of the most advanced civilizations. Its development has far surpassed Earth's. Aura then showed me the parthenogenesis incubation pods where females can reproduce offspring independently, no males required. On our all-female planet, as long as you work hard, you'll enjoy the same benefits as native residents, but since you're new, you'll have to start with the lowest tier job. I'm sending you to the nutrient supplement factory now. Just as I reached the factory entrance, my sister called me on the holocom again. There she was, sipping nutrient supplements while a male bear beastman massaged her muscles. "Sister, already exiled to the factory, I told you those female beast women were just jealous of how delicate and lovely we humans are. You'll meet that witch Nessa soon, won't you? Haha, good thing I'm clever. Every male beast man around me adores me. How does it feel to be universally disliked? Sis, can't wait to see you get banished someday. Hee." The moment my sister ended the holocall, Nessa the frosty white bear, our factory supervisor, stood before me. "Outworlders start as nutrient paste laborers. That's the rule. Today's the peak of the beastkin's mating cycle, so you'll handle the colony's supper rations, Nessa dismissed the other workers, leaving me alone in the prep room to manufacture the nutrient paste, staring at the warehouse full of fresh ingredients. A bold plan formed in my mind, drawing from 2 lifetimes worth of experience. At dinner time, with the nutrient factory's machines still idle, Nessa came to check on my progress. She took one look and gasped, "Sky, you've really messed up this time." I came out carrying a plate of scrambled eggs with tomatoes and another of spicy and sour shredded potatoes. Nessa frowned. "You actually mixed our nutrient extraction ingredients directly together, this gloopy, chaotic mess. Is it even edible, too?" I nodded. "Absolutely, this is authentic Blue Planet cuisine." Gritting through the psychic backlash, Nessa said, "My mistake, we need Aura to release military-grade antidotes immediately. As for your mess, I'll take the blame. The Firefox Queen will undoubtedly rage over this." I never realized Nessa wasn't just beautiful, but also incredibly kind. I offered the plate to Nessa, urging her to take a bite. Nessa shook her head, but a peculiar aroma wafted into her nostrils, almost against her will. Her lips parted involuntarily. With renewed vigor, Nessa escorted me and my culinary creation into the royal palace. Queen Phyllis, the most powerful Firefox sovereign, lay bedridden in frail exhaustion from severe psychic backlash, awaiting nourishment. Nessa presented the dish with a flourish. "Your Majesty, this is Terra's cuisine prepared by our newcomer Sky. Do taste it." I've sampled it myself. Though visibly hesitant, Queen Phyllis closed her eyes in trust of Nessa's judgment and took the first bite. The crowd watched the Queen's reaction nervously when her eyes suddenly widened, locking onto me with an intense stare. Nearby guards shouted, "Something's wrong. Seize Sky immediately and summon the royal physician." As guards restrained me, the Queen urgently intervened. "No, there's absolutely no issue. The only problem is how unbelievably delicious this is. I've never tasted anything so extraordinary. Sky, is this what Earth cuisine tastes like? These flavors are divine, and most miraculously, my headache vanished. I feel revitalized. You must become our planetary culinary advisor and share these dishes across our world." The others sampled the food curiously, each reacting with similar astonishment. Blue Planet cuisine actually has mental soothing properties. Our people will never have to endure suffering again. In my past life, I discovered that prolonged use of Beastman inhibitors also had side effects, while their diets primarily relied on nutrient solutions. Once when I secretly cooked for myself, a young male lion in his rutting phase accidentally ate it and miraculously recovered from his condition. The Queen personally bestowed upon me the title of first-class Baroness. Tasked with preparing cuisine for all Femina Stellans, hordes of orcs waited outside the nutrient factory, eagerly anticipating each dish I prepared. While flipping the wok, my long-lost sister suddenly tossed me a link out of the blue. She'd launched an interstellar live stream across the Androsphere. The moment I entered the cosmic live stream, the viewer count had already surpassed 100 million. The moment little sister twirled in her cupcake dress, the screen exploded with comments so adorable, truly the epitome of human femininity. "We're smitten, eternal loyalty to our most noble superstar Princess Vianne. How does one become Princess Vianne's attendant?" Several familiar orc faces appeared in the video, all gazing adoringly at my sister while indulging her every unreasonable demand. My sister immersed herself in the role far quicker than I did. I could see the predatory glint in those male orcs' eyes, that telltale crimson glow signaling they were ready to claim their prey. I couldn't help warning her, "Be careful around those male orcs." My sister just laughed. "Oh sister, you're just jealous they favor me. Look at you, reduced to a lowly cook on the planet of females, stuck forever under those old hags' thumbs with no future in sight." Male beast men in the live stream started hurling insults at me. "You stinking wench from the all-female planet, you ugly hag. How dare you compare yourself to our darling Vianne? We'd never be interested in a shrew from the all-female planet. Only a delicate, docile girl like Vianne deserves our love." My sister gleefully kicked me out of the stream to please her audience, adding, "After all, she's still my sister. No matter how jealous she is of me, I won't hold it against her." Outside the live stream, I saw countless male beast men spamming, "Just kill Vianne's sister, wipe out all the females on Femina Prime." General Aura squatted beside me, munching on the baby bok choy I'd just stir-fried, and reassured me, "Relax, now that we've lifted the psychic suppression, those scum can't lay a finger on you with us around." A few days later, my sister suddenly sent a distress call through her neural comm. "Sis, come save me, quick." I immediately turned to look. there she was, barely dressed in scraps of fabric, cowering in the bathroom with pitiful, pleading eyes. Did the all-male orc planet make their move early? That can't be right. In my past life, I never got used to male orcs' constant attention. Just adjusting to the environment took me ages. The orcs pretended to be patient with me, but they'd sneak into my room at night to torment me only. On my deathbed did I learn the horrifying truth. Male beast men, twisted by psychic torment, had grown insatiable. They'd collectively descend into obsessive worship of females, letting them reach peak ecstasy before slaughter. The potent cocktail of despair, terror, and betrayal hormones secreted by the females served as their ultimate sedative. Seeing this, I immediately contacted Aura to devise a rescue plan for my sister. Suddenly 2 male beast men flanked my sister, forcibly dragging her into frame. Cut. Princess Vianne's performance was stellar. Look how thoroughly she's fooled that idiot from all-female planet. My little sister stuck out her tongue playfully and apologized. Sis, this is just a scene I'm rehearsing. I'm going to become the greatest star in the universe. All my beast husbands support me. They think I'm absolutely perfect. That's why I used you as my test audience. Even someone who dislikes me as much as you were moved. So I must be doing great, right? But I sensed danger lurking beneath her words. My sister had always dreamed of being a celebrity, but with her average looks and figure, breaking into the industry was an uphill battle. No one showers you with affection for no reason. Those male beast folk were deliberately stoking her emotions to euphoric heights. Little sister remains oblivious to the peril she's in. I decided to give her one final chance. You're in grave danger on Androsphere. We can petition the system for your extraction. You could return to Gynosphere and cook with me. Vianne doubled over laughing. Sky, just because I call you sis doesn't mean you're hot shit. Gynosphere, that shithole. I'd rather die on Androsphere than set foot there again. If you enjoy suffering, be my guest. The barrage of vile insults in the live chat made my skin crawl. I calmly switched off my neural interface. Some people just won't be helped. I've done what I can, and the rest is up to fate. Just then, Lissa, the doe-eared sister assigned to care for me, pushed open my door. Sky, time to rise. Her Majesty has invited the entire planet's elite to attend your lecture today. The perk of living on an all-female planet. Every beastkin sister smells divine. None of that musky odor male beast men carry. With Lady Lissa's help, I changed into my first-class Baroness gown and followed her to the square. The stands were packed with female orcs chanting my name. I never realized I'd gained so many fans. Queen Phyllis held my hand and explained with a smile, "Your Blue Star cuisine has liberated us from spiritual suffering. You've earned the people's adoration." A white-haired, bespectacled sheep grandmother stepped forward. "So you're Sky from Blue Planet. I've sampled your Earth cuisine. The ancient Terran civilization truly is profound. I'm quite fascinated by it." Lissa quickly whispered to me, "This is Dr. Portia, the most revered archaeologist on our all-female planet." I responded courteously. Earth cuisine is but a tiny ripple in our civilization's ocean. Across the river of time, we have countless historical legacies that continue to inspire. 3. Dr. Portia asked with trembling excitement, "Would you elaborate on that for us?" Before the scorching apocalypse, I was already a dual champion in both arts and sciences, and a hardcore history enthusiast. I immediately launched into tales ranging from Emperor Qin and Emperor Wu of Han to Emperor Taizong of Tang and Emperor Taizu of Song. The all-female aliens were utterly spellbound, never imagining this now. Desolate planet once boasted such a magnificent civilization. Dr. Portia excitedly petitioned the Firefox Queen, "We must appoint Sky as our historical expert to assist my research in ancient blue planet studies. This could bring transformative changes to our world." Nessa quickly interjected, "Sky's already committed to culinary duties. She simply doesn't have bandwidth for this." Sensing the brewing argument between them, Queen Phyllis proposed a solution. Why not have Sky teach online courses? Every star system is promoting their own celebrities these days. Sky is our all-female planet's shining star. That same day, my account followers surpassed 80 billion. That evening, my sister had a sudden inspiration to do a live PK battle with me, and her eyes nearly popped out when she saw my follower count. Impossible. This has to be fake. I'm this famous and only have 8 billion followers. How could you surpass me? You must have bought bots. I shrugged indifferently. Think what you want. If you're scared to lose, just file for forfeiture with the Cosmic Net Bureau. Otherwise, let's PK. Fake fans don't spend money. We'll see who's real soon enough. My little sister, constantly worshipped by a horde of male beast men, was naturally confident she could beat me, but her meteoric fame, just an illusion carefully crafted by the all-male planet's agenda. Her fanbase was almost entirely built by Chuanxiong's own residents, as viewers from other galaxies had zero interest in watching some princess wannabe act out cringe-worthy plots, yet my tales of ancient blue star civilization captivated countless extraterrestrials. When the PK battle began, the entire Beastman population of Chuanxiong went wild, supporting her with donations, putting her way ahead of me initially. Seeing this, Queen Phyllis immediately ordered her subjects to flood into my live stream and back me up. In no time, my likes miraculously tied with my sister's. Dr. Portia studies ancient cultures across planets and enjoys immense prestige throughout the star systems. At her rallying cry, even extraterrestrial residents came to support me, turning the tide into a landslide victory. The dashing orc gentleman in my sister's live stream couldn't stay composed either, all urging her to concede. Dr. Crane Hale whispered in his sister's ear, "Sorry Vian, your sister's faction is too numerous. Even if Androxia exhausts all its resources, we can't possibly contend with the entire star system." Panther Mordecai chimed in, "Exactly, Vian, being a celebrity isn't all that fun. How about becoming the empress of a planet instead?" The younger sister impatiently slapped them both across the face. "Enough already, I don't want to be any damn empress. I just want to be the hottest star in the galaxy. You will make this happen for me." I saw Hale and Mordecai exchange a glance, their eyes turning frosty as they looked at my sister. Oblivious to their hostility, my sister kept campaigning desperately for votes. In the end, she still lost. After obtaining the Queen's approval, I donated the entire massive prize money from the PK competition to impoverished star system residents, and instantly gained over 100 billion new followers. My sister watched in red-eyed fury as General Aura and head chef Nessa, both of whom she despised, doted on me like a little sister. Even the Queen she'd never met in her past life treated me as an honored guest, while all the beast women of all-female star embraced me as family. This shouldn't be happening. How come you get treated so well? I just got momentarily angry at their rudeness and poisoned the nutrient supply line, that's all. Yet they exiled me to deep space. Those beast women are clearly all wicked witches, so why are they only nice to you? I was speechless. So this was why my sister got exiled. She absolutely deserved her fate, I sneered. If you want kindness from others, start by being kind yourself. Before pointing fingers, take a good look at your own actions. My sister angrily cut off our holocall in a huff. She didn't contact me for the longest time until 1 month later, when I was teaching Queen Phyllis the newly popularized game of Go. Suddenly my sister's call came through again. "Sis, open your eyes wide and see for yourself. I've surpassed your follower count now. 150 billion fans. I'm officially the universe's hottest superstar." Queen Phyllis glanced over curiously. The all-male planet actually bought her that many fake followers. That's completely unprofitable. They must really dote on your sister. I was the only one who noticed. All the male beast men quietly accompanying my sister had their eyes turned deep violet. That could only mean one thing. Dinner time was coming. I immediately sent my sister a private message. "Haven't you noticed? The male beast men around you are undergoing eye mutations. They'll soon turn you into tranquilizer potion ingredients." Even though my sister and I never got along, I despise those beast men who play with women's hearts even more. My sister glanced down, then sneered, "Jealous, trying to come between me and my mates. Dream on, I've always been more desirable to men than you'll ever be." She then showed the private message I'd sent her to the beast men around her. I caught the flicker of shock in their eyes before they quickly schooled their expressions. They immediately comforted her. "Nonsense, we're just going through our rutting season. Being near Vian alone soothes our spiritual energy. We don't need any potions." Colonel Marcus the Grey Wolf suddenly pressed his face close to the screen, remembering how he'd tenderly tortured me to death in our past life. I felt my hair stand on end. Marcus stared at me and spoke slowly. "You're clever, but it's all self-satisfied cleverness. Mind your tongue about things you shouldn't say." My sister abruptly pulled Marcus away in alarm, then shot me a wary look. "Don't even think about seducing my Grey Wolf. We're wolves mate for life. He'll only ever be loyal to me." Marcus actually knelt down and kissed his sister's feet right in front of the cameras. "That's right, my little Princess Vian. Marcus will forever be your devoted servant." Never glancing at another woman, the sister smiled in satisfaction. Only I knew, at this very moment, the sister's emotional meter had peaked, and the male beast men were already preparing the execution. In the following days, the younger sister remained active on the interstellar network as usual, but unusually, the Beast men of all-male planet rarely stayed by her side anymore. During her final live stream, she finally broke down in tears, venting her disappointment toward the male beast men, contrary to her expectation where everyone would grovel for forgiveness. Those usually gentle and considerate beast men now brandished knives with sinister grins, all pointed at her. "Stop, what's wrong with you all? Don't scare me like this. I'm your rightful wife master," the golden lion Davian sneered. "We've endured you long enough for this moment, you filthy low-born female. Your despair and terror are the finest psychic sedative for all citizens of all-male planet." My sister screamed and dodged, causing the live stream to cut out abruptly. I remained silent for a long while, fearing she'd met the same fate as in my past life, but moments later, her neural link unexpectedly reconnected to my channel. The screen showed her huddled under blankets, face barely visible, as she whispered timidly, "Sis, I was wrong. That offer to take me to Gynopia, did you mean it?" I asked suspiciously. "You're okay now. What about the beast men of all-male planet? They just let you go?" My sister's bruised and battered face suddenly filled the entire screen. "Sky, happy to see me like this. You knew the truth about all-male planet all along. Was it fun playing me? You never actually wanted to save me. If you did, you wouldn't be spouting all this nonsense. You're just as fake as those women from all-female planet." Suddenly, countless male beast men appeared in my sister's feed, beating her while extracting her despair and fear, all the while hurling curses. "Didn't you promise to help us trick those bitches from all-female planet? We're only keeping you alive because you swore you'd turn them all into our resources. Now go do your damn job." My little sister's face was completely smeared with blood, her features unrecognizable. She glared at me with pure hatred. "This is all your fault. You did this to me. I'll make you pay for this." Terrified, I disconnected the neural link and screamed, "Aura, save me." The all-female planet immediately went into emergency lockdown, with Queen Phyllis and General Aura both stationed in my chamber. "Don't be afraid, Sky, our planet's military might is formidable. The all-male invaders don't know the terrain. They won't make planetfall anytime soon. We've got ample time to prepare." Nessa brought over a bowl of her newly learned herbal tonic to coax me into drinking it. "Just drink this and rest, Sky, don't overthink it. By the time you wake up, this will all be over. Our planet won't fall so easily." After drinking the soup, I lay down but tossed and turned, haunted by the nagging feeling that I'd overlooked something crucial. A meteor streaked past the window. Then it hit me. My sister was also reborn. She'd been to all-female planet before and knew the way. I sprang out of bed and rushed to find the Queen and General Aura, but Aura beat me to it. Reappearing in my room, "Aura, I have something urgent to tell you." Aura pressed her katana against my throat. "Haven't we Amazons treated you well? Why would you betray us?" I was completely baffled. "Aura, what's wrong? Why would you say that? I consider Femina my home, and you're all my dearest family." Aura's eyes burned with anger. "Then why did you reveal all Femina's secret paths to your sister? She's already led the Andrus invasion force through our defenses. No outsider could possibly navigate our layered barricades without insider knowledge." There was no turning back now. Whether they believe me or not, I had to reveal the whole truth. "Rebirth. So in your past life, the system transported you to all-male planet, and it was actually your sister who ended up there." Aura's face showed hesitation when suddenly the door burst open. The Queen, Nessa, Lissa, and even Portia all came pouring in. "We should trust Sky's words. She's our sister. If she wanted to harm us, she's had countless opportunities before." Aura lowered her knife, pulling me into a tight embrace as she apologized. "Sky, I'm sorry. I was truly terrified of losing you as my best friend." I patted her back and said, "She's reborn, and so am I. I know the orcs' weaknesses, enough to drive them back." As Aura and I reached the front lines, my sister stood at the vanguard of the Orcish forces, directing them to residential and military zones. My sister had gone from victim to accomplice, a willing enabler of their atrocities. My sister smirked triumphantly at me. "Big sis, be smart and tell these bitches to surrender. I've gained half-male status now, far superior to you lot. I call the shots here. Beg me nicely, and I might go easy on you." I studied the male beast men. They'd clearly all taken suppressants. In my past life, I'd accidentally discovered a crucial weakness. Male beast men under suppressants can't tolerate women's joyful singing. The female beast men unaffected by psychic backlash began singing, and the males immediately paled. The male beast men suffered amplified psychic attacks on the all-female planet, fleeing in disarray amidst agonized howls. Even my sister, with her masculine psyche, seemed affected, wailing alongside the beast men as they fled. Before we could celebrate our victory, frontline soldiers reported Vian leading the all-male planet's forces toward Blue Star, with Blue Star already ravaged by extreme heat and few survivors remaining. What could they possibly want there? I answered my sister's neural call. They were almost here, my sister smirked triumphantly. The beast women of all-female planet have defenses and psychic suppression, but Blue Star is full of ordinary human girls like me. Let's capture them all for all-male planet, then destroy Blue Star. With this, we could develop superior suppressants and dominate the universe. I paced anxiously. Blue Star was my homeworld, inhabited by my people. Nobody wanted to see it harmed more than I did. Queen Phyllis and Dr. Portia came looking for me. Sky, you've shown us the full splendor of Blue Star's civilization during this time. Though it's now facing an apocalypse, the cosmic cycle works in mysterious ways. One day, life will flourish here again. The people of all-female star have unanimously decided to help Blue Star defend against the all-male star invaders. Deeply moved by their words, I boarded the spaceship back to Blue Star with Aura and the others. My sister's team had already landed before us. My sister went to the underground city entrance near our home first and tricked our parents into coming out. Mom and Dad's faces lit up with joy when they saw their daughter. Sweetheart Vian, you came back to visit us. How's life on the alien planet? Are you finally able to take us there for a better life? Without responding, the girl coldly pointed at my mother. Take this one as ingredients for potions. As for the male specimen, he's useless. Just dispose of him. Our parents stared at their daughter in horror. Vian, what are you saying? How could you treat your own parents like this? Marcus the Grey Wolf affectionately patted his sister's head. Good girl, bring us more human women tonight, and you'll get a special reward. The sister's eyes lit up as she pretended to be an injured human, luring people out from the dungeon entrance. Any man who emerged would be killed, while women would be taken captive. I arrived just in time with an all-female strike team, broadcasting a warning to the humans in the dungeon. Don't trust this woman. She's betrayed humanity. The footage showed the sister manipulating their parents. No one else emerged, not even when the Blue Star Defense Force launched an assault against the Androsians. Caught in the Gynosians' pincer attack, the Androsians suffered heavy losses again and fled in disarray, this time abandoning the sister in their retreat. The dungeon leader emerged for diplomatic talks, where I represented the all-female planet in signing a mutual assistance pact with Earth. My little sister tried sneaking into the dungeon, but Mom yanked her out by the collar. You wicked girl, you got your father killed, and now you want me abducted by aliens for experiments. Have you no heart? The Earth Defense Force conducted a lawful tribunal to adjudicate my sister's case. My sister glared defiantly. I'm the biggest star on all-male planet. How dare you arrest me? Your lives mean nothing. What matters is my survival. Mother looked at me with sorrowful eyes. Sky, at least I still have you. You'll stay and take care of me, won't you? I stepped back and said coldly, you've always favored her over me since childhood. Now I have my own family. Aura and Lissa opened their arms wide to me. Sky, we were worried you wouldn't make it back to all-female planet. I left some supplies for the Blue Planet inhabitants, promised continued aid, then boarded the spacecraft with the all-female planet delegation. Later, my sister was executed by Blue Planet law for crimes against humanity. Rumor has it her last words were about waiting for the male beasts from all-male planet to come for her. We compiled documented evidence of all-male planet's atrocities and submitted it to the Galactic Court, triggering a united interplanetary tribunal against them. The all-male planet faced sanctions, with Cosmic Court dispatching garrisons to strictly monitor their activities. I lived happily with the female beast folk on the all-female planet.